before she gets employed. So this has romance and thrilling content as well. Let's see. Let's play this. Chapter 1. The loud noise woke me from my sleep, and I reluctantly opened my eyes while still seated in the rattling carriage. Daylight had emerged while I was sleeping, casting a feeble glimmer into the dim and shabby confines of the carriage. How far are we now? With a smooth move, I pulled myself up from where I was sitting, trying to fix my messy hair. As the world outside buzzed with noise, the coachman spoke to me through a small opening. You have woken up right on time. We are close now. Steady yourself and get ready to jump off. Heh, jump off? Are you certain we are in proximity? You've not got much faith in folks, have you? Reasonably, my reservations were justified. He had been repeating like a varied mantra that our arrival was imminent, yet with no success. Perhaps stung by my inquisitive stare, the coachman gestured towards the crest of the hill. You see that, lass? I followed the line of his finger, and a stately manor loomed atop the elevation, though it was far away to discern its precise features. Its sheer grandeur was unmistakable. I leaned closer to the window, striving to absorb the view, and then turned my gaze back to the coachman. What can you share about the manor? I'm just passing through, lass. I ain't got much to offer in the way of knowing stuff. Perplexed by his lack of certainty for someone of his occupation, I nodded in response. What else can we do? The carriage in which I had been dispatched was hardly in a impeccable condition. Whether it was the pall of tobacco smoke or the jolts from uneven terrain, my stomach had churned during the journey, and my posterior ached. In all candor, the remuneration they had offered was alluring, albeit with doubts about its authenticity. I am not entirely sure if this is a wise course of action. I watched with trepidation as the manor drew nearer. My countenance bore a trace of consternation as the formerly imperceptible features of the estate slowly coalesced into view. A fleeting moment of regret brushed against my consciousness as I pondered whether I should have remained in the town halls, notwithstanding the diminished pay. Irrespective of the manor's facade, the main entrance was the epitome of pristine maintenance. It stood as a constant symbol of the family's ostensible reverence for it, regardless of the anticipation of guests. In stark contrast, this manor appeared indifferent to such niceties. The towering fence, shrouded in unsightly ivy, and the corroded, peeling iron gates bespoke a manner unconcerned with aesthetics. The sky, its countenance morphing in response, exuded not merely an airy ambience, but an unmistakable uncanniness. An involuntary gasp escaped me. Could there be a more perfect setting for a mystery novel? The coachman, who had been monitoring me for any signs of amusement, erupted in laughter. Fret not, young lass, this is the poshest place I have ever stepped foot in. I had my doubts, considering the ups and downs I had already faced. But what choice did I have? I straightened my shoulders and prepared for the unsettling creak of the iron gates swinging open. Okay, this has the sound effects. Dang, that caught me off surprise. Okay. The carriage moved through the open gates, passing through the gardens and eventually stopping in front of the main entrance. As I got off, carrying my belongings, the sheer size of the garden momentarily captivated me. The coachman's assurance proved correct. The garden was indeed well kept, although it seemed strangely out of context. While I looked around, a voice called out to me, Miss Clara Hart, a footman. He approached me with a friendly smile on his face as he extended his hand. I was ready to reciprocate with the handshake when I noticed his gaze shifting towards my luggage. I quickly shook my head. No need for you to carry the burden. Ah, please do not trouble yourself. It is my duty. I assure you, it's just one bag. After witnessing my hesitation, he initiated polite conversation, attempting to break the ice. Is this your first foray into serving a manor, Miss Hart? Okay, that reminds me. The earliest visual novel which I played also had the surname as Hart. Maybe it's really common for visual novels to have that surname. But, anyways, let's continue. Indeed, only last week I was in service as Lady Jane's maid in her townhouse. Fortuitously, I had been a lady's maid for some time, as he astutely broached the topic with tact. I have heard she's quite exacting. Is that so? Well, she maintains her own standards, but she's a fair employer. She did establish a multitude of rules, and I often found myself endeavourably breaking them, earning her displeasure. Nevertheless, recognizing my departure was tinged with concern. She kindly provided me with a letter of introduction to the manor, which was consolation. The footman responded with a reassuring smile to my answer. Our manor shares certain similarities. I trust you will find yourself acclimated, Miss Hart. I certainly hope so. The conversation infused my voice with a natural cheerfulness as the tension from our earlier discussion faded. Life within the manor appeared less formidable with a colleague of his caliber. After guiding me to the central hall of manor, he assumed responsibility for my luggage and departed with a brisk, confident strides. I shall attend to your luggage. I felt a sudden pang of deception. Just as the words began to form in my mind, an individual approached, striding purposely towards me. Dressed in a dignified black coat, she exuded an air of authority, her impeccable posture and immaculately coiffed hair leaving not a single strand stray. So, this is the person I am to meet. I cast an appraising glance her way. Though I speculated she might be the mistress of her manor, her attire indicated otherwise. When our eyes met, she graced me with a composed smile and extended a greeting. I have eagerly waited your arrival. Have you found the journey to be taxing, miss? Oh, not at all. Thanks for your prearranged carriage. Okay, so the carriage was set by this lady. I'm delighted to hear that. I'm Olivia Queller, the housekeeper, and I would be most appreciative if you addressed me as Mrs. Queller. Certainly, Mrs. Queller. And so, our greeting came to a close. I'm sorry if I pronounced the names wrong. Miss Queller promptly retrieved a pocket watch, checked the time, and proceeded to explain the schedule in a methodical, clerical fashion. As a rule, I would introduce you to Lord Robert, but given his recent indisposition, it's evident you won't be graced with his presence. Okay, maybe something happened to him. In lieu of that, I've determined that I shall promptly accompany you on the tour of this manor. Is that agreeable to you? The implication lead more towards an announcement than a question. Yet, it was an information I should have been privy to in advance, so I had no objections. Given the circumstances, I think it's the lone alternative. In response, Miss Quiller graced me with a smile of a different sort rather than enigmatic one. Perfect. Incompressible words slipped from her lips. Miss Quiller took no notice of my attempt to inquire as she began leading the way. I followed her, feeling as if I were being abruptly steered. My eyes retraced the entrance I had entered only to see the door slowly closing behind us. In the corridor to the right of the manor house, we strolled through an area that evoked a cloister. Portraits of ancestors adorned one wall, bearing witness to their illustrious days. However, the manor's prevalent airy atmosphere made it challenging to fully appreciate those depictions. It's somewhat disquieting to think that they appear so lifelike and might be observing me. I mulled over this while stealing a glance at Miss Quiller, who forged ahead. Her back was turned to me, and she continued to provide explanation whether I followed or not. Quite the strict lady. While she dwelled into the history of the manor and the biographies of its ancestors, my understanding was limited to a general grasp of the layout. She refrained from inquiring whether I had absorbed the information as if she had little expectation. Nonetheless, I paid close attention. She elucidated that the tasks I would undertake within the manor. One might assume cleaning is simple, but Mrs. Quiller regarded it with greater significance. In particular, she emphasized the importance of monitoring the entry to private rooms and whether the doors were left open or closed. In this manner, we leave the door to an unoccupied room open. Okay. If closed, it implies the presence of guests or occupants of the house. Okay, so if it's open, no one's there. If it's closed, there's someone in, don't go. Should you need to enter a closed room, knock and wait for a response before entering. Okay? What if there's no response? Do not enter. Request your supervisor to handle it. I shall remember that. I found myself slightly confounded, though I grasped the protocols of the manor. Mrs. Quiller, content with my composed demeanor, ascended the staircase without uttering another word, her gaze fixed upon the corridor's expanse. The next noteworthy point leads us to the bedchambers. She halted abruptly. I recoiled a few steps, narrowly avoiding a collision with Mrs. Quiller's back. Mrs. Quiller, quite serene, now appeared shaken. Mrs. Quiller? I turned my gaze towards her, pondering the nature of the disturbance. At the corridor's terminus, devoid of life, amid encroaching darkness, an enigmatic figure cast a long human-like shadow. A mysterious presence meandered, swaying as if in a spectral dance. Holy, it seemed oblivious to our existence. I felt a queer of fear at the sight of this unfathomable phenomena. Yo. Mrs. Quiller, I cried out, sensing the imperative need to retreat. Simultaneously, Mrs. Quiller seized my wrist, guiding us swiftly downstairs. The evasion led us to the courtyard. I curled up, shivering from the biting chill of the wind, whereas Mrs. Quiller stood rigid, seemingly unaffected by the cold. Her eyes remained fixed on me in silence. A wordless pressure lingered, making my mouth go dry. After a while, Mrs. Quiller broke the silence. Lady Jane's reference letter attests to your meticulous nature and taciturn disposition. To be candid, in my previous employment, I was somewhat of a troublemaker. Not precisely a gossip, but curiosity often got better of me. I caused Lady Jane headaches with various incidents, but never by divulging secrets. I nodded awkwardly, and Mrs. Quiller's mouth corners twitched. She draped a gentle arm around my shoulders, holding my gaze. Okay, Miss Hart, if you encounter such a sight, flee. Oh boy, are there ghosts in this house? It's an imperative rule you must adhere to. You mean you must? Without exception. She whispered impatiently, redirecting her focus to the manor house. Believe it or not, the manor is besieged by the same peculiar phenomena as before. I rolled my eyes, struggling for words. What was the appropriate response in this perplexing situation? Luck was on my side if I refrained from saying, well, it's possible, considering one of my shadows is at my feet. Regardless, Mrs. Quiller seemed equally perplexed, convinced to call it a bringer of misfortune. I pondered, attempting to formulate a response. I inquire because you mentioned it's a rule. Is it akin to the guidance against closing doors? It bears similarity. Girl, I guess if you fear for your life, you should hear that. Pay heed to that, I mean. Mrs. Queller mentioned that she would deliver an Mrs. Queller mentioned that she would deliver an employee handbook to my room. In a soothing tone, she reassured me of her understanding of my confusion. You needn't worry, it's a collection of rules that shall resolve themselves. Rules? If it if it proves challenging, inform me. I tend to maintain a well-staffed house, allowing for your return home. No, entrust me with the responsibility. I shall endeavor. Now burdened with the responsibility of providing sustenance for my family, I had no intention of retreating to my former employment. Appeased by my response, Mrs. Quiller bestowed me upon another satisfied smile. Surprisingly, the mausoleum was quite close to the manor house. By turning your head, it offered a view of the manor's right wall. A bold decision for a residence steeped in history and grandeur. The ancestor of the lord of this manor, devoted to his departed wife, orchestrated the change to gaze upon her grave at will. In a society where arranged marriages prevailed, the fervent love struck me as eccentric. Although I was assigned to tend to the mausoleum, I wasn't given any explicit instructions. Alice was made responsible to oversee my training and teach me of the details of daily tasks. Whatever Mrs. Quiller chanted to me about the owner of the mausoleums. I hope you don't. uh, don't get on my back for spelling this wrong, pronouncing this wrong. Seem to go in one ear and out the another. Hmm? Just as I was growing accustomed to the surroundings, I sensed an unforeseen wave of attention fixing upon me. Okay, I think this is the time we save it. Oh, back, return. Puzzled, I raised my head to witness a colossal figure materializing beyond the glass. The recollection of dancing shadows tensed my shoulders. Oh, Mrs. Quiller, over there! Mrs. Quiller fell silent and followed my gaze. She then tried to assuage my fear with a smirk. Fear not, he's not one of them. Sorry, him? He's Lord Edward, the heir to this prestigious manor. With precision, she outlined the figure against the cloudy sky. His hair, a shade of golden ash blonde, matched the clear blue sky of his eyes, and the static and the calm demeanor defined him. Our gazes met, his fingers fiddling with the delicate chain of his necklace as he observed our surroundings. A look of surprise crossed his face. He attempted to communicate something to me through subtle movements. I found myself captivated, studying his lips with genuine intrigue. Focus. My gaze might have lingered had not another voice snapped me back. Pardon me. I hastily clasped my hand, assuming a polite gesture, feeling my face uncontrollably warm. Absorbed in observing the Lord, I momentarily overlooked Mrs. Queller's presence. Her eyes narrowed for that very reason. Could you tell me more about Lord Edward? The question, intended as an invitation, earned only a raised eyebrow from her. Yo, isn't he the Lord of the Manor? Why so questioned? A momentary gaze at the window preceded a dismissive response. He is an unruly man, a difficult one to deal with. I recommend you avoid talking to him as much as possible. Oh, understood. Wait, wait. He's the head. But she says, unruly man, difficult to deal with. Okay. Stiff responses left me feeling out of place, a contrast to her earlier praise of the manner. Even if he was indeed unruly, it wasn't a particularly kind characterism of him. Mrs. Queller added a cautionary note, apparently unsatisfied with my response. Should he visit the mausoleum, give him space. He's very sensitive. Okay, our conversation ended here. Mrs. Queller spoke only when explanations were necessary, and I, stunned by her continuous deflections, remained silent. Hence the sloppy induction into the manor reached its end. Okay, day two. Attending to a lady's every need and overseeing a manor's house were indeed disparate tasks. Alice, aiding my transition, bore a stern demeanor, leading us up and down the stairs innumerable times. By its conclusion, my limbs trembled like a fledgling fowl. I'm utterly cream cracked, was it? Wearingly propelling myself nearly at the brink of collapse, I entered the servants' hall. As the sun set, a bustling crowd had gathered. I sank into the nearest chair, exhaling a very high sigh. Oh, my limbs are aching. I hope I can rise again tomorrow. While I was massaging my weary legs and pondering, a man quietly occupied the seat across from me. He scrutinized me with a pensive stare, deeming me a stranger. I'm not sure if I recognize you. I'm new to this place, as you can see. Haha, no wonder you didn't seem to know me. I'm Thomas. Clara. When I ignored his hand, he discreetly wiped the damp palm on his apron, his milk settling upon his features. Then he continued speaking, adopting an air of sagacity. Right you are. You clearly had a day of it. All tuckered out, are you? Absolutely. I could barely lift a finger. Ah, that explains the lack of handshake. Well, fret not, my dear, for this culinary wizard is about to whip up something scrumptious to revive you. A short while later, Thomas reappeared, a plate in his hands, his face softened by a desire to comfort, held a warmth that contrasted the coldness in my stomach. Oh, we couldn't see Thomas, but that's all right, I guess. The aroma of the food that Thomas had painstakingly prepared filled the air, but it failed to entice my senses. I took a small taste, more out of obligation than desire, and Thomas' face instantly became a mask of worry. Is it really that dreadful? Well, you do seem a little bit unsure of yourself for a chef, wouldn't you say? Perhaps it's because I find myself playing the cook for the day. He let out a big sigh, as if the weight of the world was on his shoulders. Right, well, the thing is, Mary up and left suddenly, which threw us up in a bit of dizzy, you see. I have been doing my best to pick up the slack, so as to speak. Who's Mary? Ah, well, she was the one who looked after the mausoleum before you, as it were. Utterly surprised by Thomas' knowledge of things I had not shared, I asked, and how exactly did you deduce that I'd be the new mausoleum keeper? Well, whispers about you have been swirling around the manor for days like leaves in a storm. It would be quite the feat to remain completely oblivious, you see. Whispers about what? Oh, mostly about your tenure, of course. We have even placed a friendly wager amongst ourselves on just how long you'll last before throwing in the towel. Oh, why is it so bad? My eyebrows shot up in astonishment at his audacity. How could he possibly make a bet without even knowing who the other person was? catching my disbelieving stare, he let out a disgruntled sigh. Hey, don't give me that look. I was on your side. I bet you that you would persist for a week. A week? Oh, the mask of pleasantness on his face finally cracked, revealing a glimpse of the man beneath. As my disapproval became apparent, Thomas stammered out some excuse about needing to urgently attend to his duties and scurried away, seeking refuge in the kitchen. With a heavy sigh that echoed across the room, I laid down my fork and knife. The meal, unfortunately, had been a disappointing affair. I suppose I should return to my chamber. Upon entering my assigned room, I was greeted by an unexpected spectacle. To my astonishment, it was an entirely private chamber. In abodes with limited space, shared lodging were the norm, so I'd expected something similar here. Am I their lost daughter or something? I hastily dismissed my unwarranted captivation, delivering a stinging slap to my own cheeks as a reprimand. This was not the time for frivolity, especially with a bet riding on my resilience. I needed to prioritize the organization of my attire and possessions, followed by a thorough examination of the established guidelines. It should be on the drawer. My gaze swept across the room, landing upon a delicate stack of papers precariously perched upon the dresser. I snatched up and delved into the instructions. Let me see. Employee Handbook. Manor layout. The estate consisted of three distinct areas: the main manor house, a separate annex building, and a garden. The manor house spans three floors above the ground and one basement level. The left wing is dedicated to employee quarters, while the right houses the private residential areas. Left is for employee quarters, the right is for private. Okay. The basement serves as storage and culinary space, with each area accessible only to authorized servants. Okay. The annex building comprises two above ground stories and a basement level. This building is solely intended for guest accommodation. Okay, annex building has only two floors and a basement level, and it's only for the guests. The garden is divided into three sections: a carriageway, an outer yard, and a backyard. Backyard, outer yard, and a carriageway. Unbreakable policy, a code to abide by. Okay. Strange and unexplained events can occur within the manor. Failure to comply within the following policy will absolve us of our responsibility for any resulting incidents. Confidentiality mandate. All occurrences within the manor must be kept secret from the outside world. Oh, what happens here? This is a contractual obligation, and any breach will result in disciplinary action in accordance with the policy. And then there's restricted passageways. Do not enter corridors where shadowy figures are known to manifest. During daylight hours, these corridors often become inhabited by humanoid shadows. While no physical contact has been reported, we suspect potential danger and entry is strictly prohibited. What do you mean during daylight? During night, like, are there, do they change into physical entities? See, it says during daylight hours, the corridors often become inhabited by humanoid shadows. So, what do they mean by daylight hours? During nighttime, will they have actual monsters or something else? I hope not. If duties require you to be in these areas, inform your supervisor and seek alternative assignments. Vacant chamber protocol. Leave vacant chambers ajar, not sealed. Out of respect for our guests, entry shall only occur after a polite knock and audible confirmation. If an unanswered knock is received, seek a supervisor to address the issue. Yeah, Olivia said this already. Sunset prescription. No movement allowed after sunset. Okay, there are really some beings roaming out there after sunset. Okay, so the next one, for safety reason, the manner operating during daylight hours, only prohibiting authorized personnel from moving after sunset. Occasional noises may occur after hours. We advise ignoring them as they typically subside on their own. Sounds near your door often originate from night watchmen. Please do not be alarmed. Meal time protocol, huh? Cancel! Setting the table and presenting food will always increase the number of occupants by one. Serving guests will also increase the head count by one person. If someone joins mid-meal, non-compliance is permitted. I did not understand this one. What does it mean? The family's meal follow predetermined schedule. Setting the table presenting will always increase the number of occupants by one. Serving guests will also increase the head counts by one person. Avoid lengthy conversation with Lord Edward. What kind of directive is this? Don't talk much with Lord Edward. Interaction is permitted when necessary, but refrain from initiating conversations unless invited. Oh God. If someone brings business to Lord Edward, promptly direct them to Olivia Quella. Outbuilding ordinance. Unauthorized access to buildings is strictly prohibited, except for stables and mausoleum. Currently, outbuildings are restricted to designated personnel and the family of manor's proprietor. If accompaniment to an outbuilding is required, obtain permission from your superiors beforehand. Well, it has a lot of guidance and rules and obligations. My mind reads from the intricate details of the instructions, causing dizzy sensation. With a defeated sigh, I reluctantly set the documents aside. Well, this explains the good pay. The complexity of the instructions left me staggered, the barrage of unanswered questions lingering in my thoughts. This is hard to believe, yet duty beckoned, and the handbook remained a necessity for the present. I swiftly stored it away and set about organizing my garments and provisions. My modest belongings found their proper places with ease. Disposing of my day's attire, I hung them neatly and settled onto the bed, closing my eyes. I surrendered to a surge of thoughts. The imposing exterior of the manor might suggest otherwise, but the inhabitants did not seem inherently wicked. Okay, so this is still the first day. Earlier, when I said it could be the second day, no, the chapter 2 was continuing the first day. As the day's event began to fade in the background, I found myself replaying the faces of the voices of those I had met. The garrulous coachman, the perceptive footman, Mrs. Quiller, a rather enigmatic person, and the meticulous supervisor, Alice. And then there was Thomas, the one whose condensing manner left an unpleasant aftertaste. But it was Lord Edward, the heir to the manor, who held my attention. Like, why would there even be a rule which says don't talk for a lot of time and don't initiate conversations? Like, why? His gaze, faintly tinged with concern, lingered in my mind, a stark contrast to the resentment he seemed to evoke in others. He didn't seem that bad. My mind, teeming with thoughts, sought solace in slumber. A yawn involuntarily escaped my lips as I rubbed the corners of my eyes, succumbing to the overwhelming fatigue that enveloped me. In the blink of an eye, I drifted into the realm of dreams, leaving behind the day's event. The jarring resonance of a knock tore me from the blink of sleep. With a groggy mind, I surveyed my surroundings only to discover the room shrouded in an impenetrable darkness. Weed. Struggling to regain my bearings, I hastily assessed my attire, then cautiously approached the door, my thoughts racing with the impending disruption. Who? A sudden realization struck me, and I instinctively held back my words. The established guidelines clearly stated that any visit extending beyond the designated working hours to be dismissed. That this was the policy adhered by all, and I had no doubt that my fellow servants would uphold it as well. Yet, if this was the case, then why did the insistent knocking persist? Clara. Okay, this is the thought process, I guess. Are they not informed that this room is occupied? The handbook's mention of night watchmen suggested that the knocking could be from one of them operating within the confines of the policy. It raised the question of whether it would be wise to open the door and inform the night watchman of my presence. As the knocking continued, I engaged in a lengthy deliberation. No, I don't think it's what do we say? Safe to open the door. Oh wait. Oh wait, I oh well, anyways. Do not open the door. With a resolute shake of my mind, I retreated to my bed, determined to adhere to the rules. Infringing upon the established guidelines was the last thing I desired on this night. The relentless knocking, with its unclear purpose, was ghastly. Oh God, I don't think I would be able to sleep with such knocking in an unfamiliar place. It seemed more like an act of intimidation rather than an attempt to adhere to the policy. No one was here tonight, Clara. Okay, no one. I buried my head beneath my pillow, my ears muffled against the insistent thudding. With the eyes squeezed shut, I recited a silent countdown, hoping to find solace in the rhythm of numbers. Slowly, the pounding subsided, replaced by the faint echoes of the footstep retreating into the depths of the manor. A sigh of relief escaped my lips, yet sleep remained elusive. My eyelids stubbornly refusing to succumb. With bleary eyes, I uttered a despondent reflection, my mind replaying the unsettling events that had transpired. I have to rise early for work tomorrow. What should I do? Well, I don't think she got a wink of sleep yesterday. As dawn broke, sleep continued to elude me, leaving fatigue as my unwelcome companion. I perceived through the morning that the solitude of mausoleum proved too much for my weary body. With each methodical sweep of the floor, my eyelids succumbed to the allure of sleep. Please, girl, don't sleep here. My head sank lower under the warm sun's embrace. Let me just, no, just.
とても
This.
疲れているようですね。
Oh boy, this Japanese is time. Oh, who is it? I jolted awake. Oh, hi. Hello, Mr. Edward. Good morning. A figure emerged from the shadows, his presence casting a chill over me. It was the Lord, the imposing figure I had been warned against. His hands gently cradled a floral arrangement, presumably a tribute to the departed. My lips quivered, torn between embarrassment and awkwardness. Hello, it is quite a splendid afternoon, isn't it? Okay, it's afternoon. My bad. The Lord, taken back for the transient moment, revealed a tranquil smile.
はい、いい天気です。あなたには違うみたいだけど。
Oh, holy. Well, I couldn't get much sleep last night. For some reason, speaking in Japanese, reading in English. Haha.
おや、どうして？
He has a nice voice, okay? It's just, something unsettling occurred during the night.
ああ、
Lord Edward nodded sagely, his experience indicating that he had grasped the nature of unsettling event. Oh, you know already. Well, I think that must be really common here.
私はもう慣れていますが、初めての方にとっては恐ろしいことかもしれませんね。
Oh, since he's already speaking in Japanese, I'll not read it, okay? Has this occurred frequently for you?
お母さんが亡くなってからずっとですね。だから、ずいぶん前からですね。
Well, is it your mom's ghost lingering in the manor? Well, I wouldn't say that loud to him. With an air of poise and reverence, Lord Edward swept past me, his movements exuding an effortless grace. He gently lowered himself to the ground, his hands carefully placing the bouquet of flowers upon the tombstone. As the sunlight brushed against his closed eyelids, an ethereal glow emanated from the corner of his eyes, casting a mesmerizing aura around him. It was a sight of such captivating beauty, almost surreal, that I found myself questioning the reality of the scene unfolding before me. Okay, but he really looks so damn fine. He has pretty eyelashes too. With a final murmur of prayer, Lord Edward gently opened his eyes, his expression serene and composed.
ともあれ、この邸宅に来たことを歓迎します。
And
も
I,
し何かあったら、気軽に話してください。
yeah, but I was received explicit guidelines that I shouldn't be initiating conversation with you. Wouldn't be a breach of contract if I did that. His considerate attitude started to thaw my suspicions. Oh boy, he's a kind guy. Please call me Clara. A sudden chill crept down my spine, wrenching my attention away from my task. As I turned, I found myself locked in Alice's gaze, her expression as unreadable as ever, a broom held firmly in her grasp. Shh, I was busted. Her unexpected presence disoriented me as I had been under the impression that I would be working alone today. Sweeping, not done yet. Anticipating the scolding that seemed to loom, I shot Lord Edward a momentary, apprehensive look. His composure suggested that he had anticipated Alice's action and he discreetly turned away. Oh, poor guy. He's suppressed by all these people living here.
仕事中でしたね。続けてください。
Alright. Alice turned countenance east as the man entered the house. She looked at me nervously. Oh, I am sorry, I was rigid. It's alright, nothing untoward happened. In fact, he seemed pretty kind. Kind? You haven't witnessed the low-life nature of his. Alice's head swayed in disapproval as she whispered her disgust at the idea, but her reaction barely made a dent in my thoughts. Our interaction was brief and unremarkable. He simply expressed his concern for my well being. However, I knew Alice would dismiss my account with disbelief, prompting me to release a heavy sigh. Who am I to trouble myself over such matters? He's the heir to this grand estate, and I am but a humble servant. I have my hands full with duties, that's for certain. With a resolute shake of my head, I pushed my thoughts aside and stepped into the manor. The distraction may be swift, but the work is eternal. Good morning, everyone. Clara, how come you are up so early? It happened. I just happened to get up early today. Plus, we have deep cleaning coming up, don't we? Oh my god, Bruce, little Clara has grown up to be the big maid. I have always been a maid. The playful snots hung in the air, hinting at their enduring perception of me as a familiar face. I quelled a sigh and gathered my equipment, knowing I'd have to navigate the manor yet again as the new kid. 2 months have passed since I arrived at this manor. Oh, Thomas. I lost his bet saying that I had only managed 1 week. Which meant that Thomas should be drowning in regret by now over his empty wallet. Haha. But in their eyes, I remain a mere newcomer. Well, that's a shame for you. but I'm already feeling confident. With a murmured sigh, I embarked on my ascent, my gaze drawn to the ethereal sunlight streaming through the windows. The corridors, once steeped in an enigmatic aura of mystery and trepidation, now seemed less ominous, their gloom dispelled by the gentle embrace of the morning sun. Ah, there's the shadow again. Despite my growing familiarity with the manor's layout, I still couldn't shake off the lingering sense of disquiet that clung to its walls. With a furrow creasing my brow, I swiftly pivoted and descended the stairs, my eyes starting nervously away from the lurking shadow. Now that must be pretty creepy. Opting for a longer route, I decided to circumvent the left corner, my heart pounding with a mix of apprehension and determination. The shadow's ominous presence loomed large, casting a pale over the otherwise resolute step. I'm running late. Anticipation quickened my steps as I rounded the bend, for I sensed the presence of someone awaiting me. Good morning. Have you come to make another visit to the mausoleum today? True to my expectations, Edward sat poised before the tombstone, an invisible connection drawing him to the familiar spot. As I approached, his face lit up with a smile as radiant as a flower in full bloom, a silent welcome that transcended words.
うん。今日に限って日差しがよく当たるね。いい天気だよ。
Indeed, lovely weather. I agree, it's almost spring. Upon closer acquaintance with Lord Edward, I discovered the stark contrast between the perception others had instilled in me and the reality of the man himself. He possessed a depth of compassion that defied the callous reputation he bore, a trait that slowly chipped away at the preconceived notions I had harbored. My instincts, often dismissed as unreliable by those who deemed me insensitive, seemed to be offering a more nuanced understanding of Lord Edward. Through repeated interactions, I began to discern qualities that had eluded me before, a tapestry of kindness and empathy woven into the core of his being. Even now, he was a silent oasis of support amidst the flurry of fallen leaves while I raked the grass. Okay, so we are in the garden now, I guess. Like a gardener tending to his plants, he listened attentively as I shared my thoughts, nurturing them with his presence. Could the frequent turnover of Muslim attendants be the reason? But it has been 2 months already.
時間が経てばきっと良くなるだろう。トーマスはもう何も言ってないよ。
Only because you lost the bet, my lord. I don't come as childish, do I?
ううん。クララは大人のように見えるよ。
You're not being sarcastic, are you?
褒め言葉だよ。
Uncertain of the propriety of the servant forming such a close bond with their employer, I nonetheless found solace in the quiet moments shared with Lord Edward. As our conversation flowed, I was struck by the unexpected parallels between us, a realization that sparked both wonder and curiosity. It was a curious phenomenon, the way a lord and a servant, despite their vastly different stations, could discover a common ground that would bound them together.
そういえば、おじがハガキを送ってきたよ。
Lord Brandon?
うん。今回は海を渡るそうだ。到着したら、写真を送ってくれると言っていたんだ。
That sounds quite exciting. I'd love to travel like that someday.
そうだね。なんて美しいんだろう。
Edward's expression softened into wistful river, as if he were already aboard a ship slicing through the waves on his own grand adventure. A youthful vibrancy previously concealed by his usual stoicism now radiated from his feature. For the first time, he looked his actual age. I placed my rake aside and settled myself down, a comfortable distance away. Why not travel when you have the opportunity?
そうできたらいいのだが。
Wait, do you have some disease? An awkward smile smeared across Edward's face, his voice trailing off as he hesitated to continue. It was clear he was dodging a particular subject, most likely the illness of Robert, the manor's ruler. I completely understand your hesitation. It's a sensitive topic. Wait, others. Did he become a zombie? Mr. Robert. I mean, okay, no, I must be. Okay, I completely understand your hesitation. It's a sensitive topic. Edward's lips moved silently, forming and discarding words until finally he decided to mask his disconcert with a smile over his face.
ありがとう、クララ。
Oh, you're welcome. The only word I understood was arigato. And I heard him say Clara. Okay. The morning slipped away quickly, filled with lively conversation and laughter. The lunch hour had flown by, and now Edward, filled with regret, actively sought to help with the remaining cleanup. Unfortunately, his efforts at cleaning proved less than fruitful, creating more work than he intended. Oh god. Was he clumsy? As I organized the cleaning supplies, a sudden sound pierced the silence, drawing my attention. Also, he's very kind too. I mean, I don't know if someone who is hired to in such a village family would help with cleaning after lunch. Bruce stood there, his arms folded across his chest, a playful smile dancing on his lips. Here we go again. Blimey, Clara, where have you been hiding all morning? Now, Bruce, if I may remind you, my duties lie with the upkeep of the mausoleum. You have been with Lord Edward again? What's the meaning of again, huh? It's not like we're glued at the hip or anything. Oh, really? Don't think I haven't noticed what's brewing. Honestly, Bruce, give it a rest. It's not what you think. I cut off Bruce's interference with a firm voice, needing to focus on the precise task at hand. Bruce gave a nonchalant shrug, his unconcern evident in his casual posture. Come on, spill the beans. Everyone's nosy about what you've been doing all morning. Oh, please stop it, Bruce. I'm already on edge after bumping into that thing again today. That's it, just cause of that one little beastie. Doesn't make much sense, does it? What if I told you I was struggling to rake leaves? Well, that can be tiring work, I suppose. Bruce, I know this might sound silly, but you know how long it can take to learn something new. Don't make me feel bad about it. Bruce grinned broadly, showing off his crooked teeth, which made him look like a bit intimidating. I kept my face blank, refusing to let it get to me. Alright, we'll give you the benefit of doubt this time. Well, thanks for nothing. But better watch your step with Lord Edward, no mattering, that's the rule. I turned and walked away, feeling a slight chill despite the warm day. It was difficult to tell a lie, especially one so out of character. But nobody is interested in befriending Lord Edward other than me. Olivia's words about Lord Edward's rebellious and unpredictable nature echoed in my mind. Despite Lord Robert and Lord Edward being the masters of the manor, everyone seemed to unquestioningly accept Olivia's portrayal of him. Yeah, that's pretty weird if you ask me. They don't believe me, but he's such a nice person. Why can't they see it? Despite Edward's insistence on leaving them alone if they weren't open to conversation, I dissented. His lack of assertiveness bothered me, especially since respect was rightfully his due as a family member and an employer. I won't let him continue withdrawing from those around him. Drawing strength from Lady Jane's wisdom about relationships, I pushed open the door. Wait, you should knock the door, no? Once inside, I was informed that Olivia had summoned me. Okay, we did knock, okay. Clara did knock. Come in. I closed the door softly and approached her. The room was overflowing with papers and envelopes. Okay, I think something's big gonna happen now. She's going to go crazy when we say that Edward is not like how we thought he was. clearly neglected due to the Lord's absence. Clara, at your service, ma'am. Taking a deep breath to steady my nerves, I offer a greeting. Olivia, her eyes momentarily glued to the documents before her, eventually looked up and removed her glasses. With a gentle press of her finger to her forehead, she acknowledged my presence. Oh, it's you. Have a seat. I took a seat in the chair in front of her, perfect for a long, relaxing conversation. My desire to depart grew stronger with each passing moment. How may I help you? Alice happened to mention that you have been working through your lunch break, Clara. Is that so? Well, I was told that Mr. Robert cares for the museum, so I haven't summoned you to reprimand you. I don't disapprove of the hard work in the slightest. I appreciate your understanding. However, I must insist that you don't skip meals. Okay, she takes care of. Clara, in that case, steeling myself for Olivia's potential dismissal, I was met instead with unexpected praise for my meticulous work. The surprise was compounded by my previous anticipation of accusing of napping from either Alice or Bruce. As I contemplated with the rise, Olivia abruptly began divulging details of her personal situation. Clara, to be honest, the Lord hasn't been feeling quite himself lately. Oh no, is that so? Edward's downcast expression made sense now. This was what weighed heavily on his mind. Olivia's gentle smile and nod suggested a misunderstanding of my words. Yes, thanks to that, I am in charge of his care. What? What do you mean, thanks to that, huh? I blinked, momentarily confused by Olivia's cryptic comment. Since I'm unable to leave the manor, I would like you to pick up medical supplies in my stead. My jaw dropped at the enticing offer. Pardon? If it poses too much of an inconvenience for you, there's no obligation. Actually, this sounds kinda sus. What if someone tries killing me when I'm out there for medical supplies? Maybe she got some hint about me speaking with Edward, and that's why she's out there to kill Clara. Not at all, it's not difficult at all. Olivia's unexpected compliments were understandable now. Given the circumstance, I have little choice but to accept the offer. Recognizing the implication of Olivia's words and my own lack of options, I simply offered a smile. It settles then, I'll notify you when we are scheduled. For now, concentrate on the primary tasks. As you wish. I'm counting on you, Clara. Grateful nod escaped my lips, masking the bewilderment that churned within me. Was entrusting such a task to a new maid truly wise? Perhaps Lady Jane's recommendation spoke volumes of my capabilities? Surely Olivia wouldn't assign this responsibility without unwavering assurance of my reliability. Wait, let me say this. I don't trust this woman. Wouldn't you agree, my lord?
まあ、オリビアはそんな紹介状一つで心を変える人ではないから。ただ君のことが気に入ったんじゃないか？
I don't believe it, okay? What aspect of my character?
オリビアだけが知っているだろう。
Edward lowered himself onto the grassy ground and I took a seat beside him. Okay, whenever we are in here, I feel like we are inside this room and not in some garden. Though I harbored some discontent, I nodded. I trust the journey will not be overly strenuous.
魚者がちゃんと連れて行ってくれるだろう。心配いらないよ。
I don't know, I still don't trust her. I have some butterflies in my stomach. Have you ever been there by any chance? Edward's head denied the question with a subtle shake. Those trips were usually left to the servants, but his expression hinted at something unspoken. As I released a heavy sigh, a gaseous concept blossomed in my mind, leading me to redirect my focus. The sea. Huh? Alice mentioned a harbor near our destination. Why don't we venture there together? The path stretched slightly longer than anticipated, but with brisk steps we could chase the setting sun and reach the manor before dusk painted the sky. Oh wait, we went out with Edward to the sea? The harbor, apart from the sandy expanse of the beach, held its own captivating allure. I gazed up at Edward with enthusiasm, but he appeared somewhat perplexed.
それはちょっと難しいんじゃないかな。
What do you mean by that? If you're concerned about your father, he should be alright. We'll only be away for a day. Wait, what are you trying to do, girl?
うん、それもあるけど、やっぱりできない。
A shadow of regret crossed Edward's face as he gently declined my suggestion. His lips pursed slightly and his usual bright eyes seemed to cloud over with a hint of sorrow. The vibrancy of Edward's deep azure eyes dimmed like the dying embers of fire, mirroring the unfathomable depths of this ocean. A veil of disguised emotion clouded his face, hinting at hidden turmoil within. The untold words hung heavy in the air, a tangible barrier between us. Edward's clenched jaw and furrowed brows betrayed the secret he chose not to share with me. Oh, he looks so pretty. Okay, but look at this gorgeous art. His eyes, his eyelashes, such pretty hair, his fingers, his nail. Look at those patterns and the detailing on his clothes. Absolutely gorgeous. He looks so fine, but he has that look of sadness. Oh. A wave of wistfulness washed over his face, momentarily morphing his features into a mask of near anguish. But the storm quickly subsided, replaced by a quiet resignation that settled upon his countenance like a veil.
クララ、君の言う通り、僕には屋敷を出ない他の理由があるんだ。
Are you a ghost now? Okay, another thing is, I think we did not leave the place. He's still sitting on the garden, and we just gave him an idea to go there. But when said that we might stay for one day, he got scared that maybe he can't stay the night outside of his manor. Not sure, let's see.
でも、君には言いたくない。
Alright, I won't force you.
うん。ごめんね。
A sharp pang of disappointment pierced my heart as he drew a line like a cold blade, searing the thread of intimacy. Severing. Yet I clenched my jaw and forced my muscle into a mask of neutrality, determined not to betray the storm raging within me. I knew that our bond, though cherished, lacked the depth and intimacy that warranted the sharing of every secret. We were not confidants in the truest sense. The realization settled upon me like a heavy cloak, dampening the spark of hope that had flickered within me. Poor Clara. Despite the churning turmoil within, I forced the corners of my lips upwards in a semblance of a smile. I must have disturbed you. Please excuse my rudeness.
いや、クララ、全然迷惑じゃないよ。
Despite the shadow of doubt that crossed his face earlier, Edward's demeanor changed, radiating eagerness.
むしろ嬉しかった。
The contrary, really. His words filled me with a sense of perplexity. Despite possessing the freedom to depart, Edward seemed inexplicably confined within the manor. People treated him as a liability despite him being employed by him and his family, and Edward endured it all with an unwavering dismissiveness, never venturing beyond the manor's walls. Why? It became quite obvious that the secrets he hoarded close to his chest were the missing pieces to the puzzle of his existence. Okay, let's take a quick break. Alright, I'm back. Okay, so let's continue. Miss Clara, Miss Quilla requests your presence in her room. Hearing my name, I was instantly transported back to the conversation we just shared. My curiosity piqued. The memory of a request, an errand needing my assistance surfaced in my thoughts. Setting aside the cleaning supplies, I hurried to Olivia's quarters, recognizing the urgency in her tone and responding with a decisive knock upon the door. Come in. Papers still littered the room, testament to the ongoing task of organization that Olivia diligently undertook. The muted words fell like a growing weight in my chest, forcing me to interrupt the symphony of rustling papers and finally make myself known. Good morning, Miss Quilla. Ah, Clara, you're here. I thought it might be someone else. Olivia reached into her arm and retrieved a pair of papers. These letters note down the symptoms of illness. Please be careful not to lose them. Certainly, I'll be cautious. Olivia confirmed she would call me once the carriage arrived tomorrow, including a map for good measure. Her thoroughness left me speechless, making my worries shared with Edward the previous day seeming utterly trivial. I apologize for the urgency, but precision is crucial since Lord will be relying on those medications. So don't forget to obtain the medication directions from the doctor. Yes, I'll ensure to get them. And after folding the paper, I tucked it securely in my front pocket. And amidst of my actions, Olivia's voice pierced through the air, carrying the weight of sudden recollection. By the way, Clara, whispers have reached me of you spending much time with a young lord. Is there any truth to that? Oh no, of course not. Though Bruce seemed to buy my act, Olivia's discerning eyes revealed the truth beneath the surface. The spectacle frown creased Olivia's features, communicating her disbelief without a single spoken word. I had my own suspicions, now I know where to place them. Wait, what? I don't blame you. Lord Edward is a wily man. He seemed innocent. Her words caused me considerably distress, prompting me to an attempt of a defense. Unfortunately, my discontent failed to elicit any response from Olivia, and with that innocence of his, he managed to make 13 servants quit their jobs. Clara, I have a duty to protect the servants, and that includes you. Okay, she might be good. You'll have to keep in mind that everything I say, even if it seems harsh, is to keep you safe. Understood. A sigh escaped my lips as I pushed upon the door and stepped into the hallway. My head throbbed with the dull ache of physical echo of the turmoil brewing within me. If Edward truly is what Olivia claims, then what has been his motive in engaging with me all this time? But the headache quickly faded, leaving no trace of unpleasant self. Who was I fooling? And was once Lady Jane's fiery maid, the rebel punished tenfold but forever proud. Or at least that's who I was before I came here. Being bold in words is simpler than putting it in action. The recent warnings echoed in my mind. Oh, mostly about your tenure, of course. We have placed finally wager amongst ourselves one how long will last before throwing in the towel. But better watch your step, Lord Edward. No nattering, that's the rule. Clara, I have a duty to protect the servants, and that includes you. They're essentially telling me to avoid Edward like the plague, but he's not exactly someone I can easily dismiss. Ignoring him altogether is an impossibility. After all, he's my employer. I must say their suggestion that I simply disregard my employer is quite perplexing. It seems like they've lost touch with the realities of the workplace. With a heavy sigh, I continued wiping the tombstone. The more I think about it, the more I doubt. It's getting way too complicated.
何がそんなに難しいの？
Wait, did I say it loud? I mean, A gasp escaped my lips as I flung the mopping cloth at Edward. With practiced ease, he snagged it out of it as it anticipated my outburst. Oh, I'm sorry. I hesitated, unsure whether to commend his reflexes, owned up to countless days of watching my projections. Okay, well, Clara, what are you doing? You always do this with him. Locked in a wordless duel, our eyes met, and Edward's face gradually flushed a deep crimson.
どうしてそんなに人をじっと見るの？
Nothing, I'm just on. I think my brain has been addled by what people have been saying.
僕が？
No, but yeah, maybe including you too. Though the blame primarily rested on other shoulders, I mused inwardly. My gaze remained fixed on Edward's eyes. I peered into his eyes, searching for a trace of the villain they claimed he was. Yet his eyes held no hint of malice, only a tinge of exhaustion. Despite the warnings of others, I could not bring myself to treat Edward with disdain. With a timid glance around, I began narrating the events that had unfolded. My story left Edward's face ashen, his features etched with a profound sense of gravity. Or maybe we should have said, I don't know, I'm kind of scared now.
オリビアがそう言ったの？僕が13人を追い出した暴れん坊だと？
Okay, maybe she was the one who did that, okay, by seeing his expression. Even though I can't prove it, I'm telling the truth.
まさか クララ、僕は君を信じている。ただ、オリビアがそのような噂を広めたことに少し困惑しているだけだ。
Edward paused, his eyes meeting mine with a steely determination that spoke volumes.
クララ、証明したいことがあるんだ。よかったら今夜、お墓に出てきてくれる？
Bro, I'm not allowed to get out during night time. Do you want me to get fired, is it? Tonight?
君が嫌なら来なくてもいいよ。もうそんなこと言わない。
No, I mean, the echoes of Olivia's disapproval lingered in my mind as a reminder of the trust I had betrayed. Yet Edward's desperate expression pierced through my defenses, making me question my resolve. Should I trust him and break the rules? Holy, okay, well, save. Done. Okay, this is hard. Okay, trust Olivia, trust Edward. Dang, man. As much as I would love to trust Edward, the rules. Okay, maybe we'll just trust Edward because yeah. If you ask me, the answer is undeniable, a resounding yes. In a rather peculiar turn of events, I'm convinced that Edward I encountered was a man of profound authenticity. What can I do for you? Please don't betray me, okay? Don't get me killed. Edward's eyes widened in astonishment as he grasped the implication behind my question. His jaw clenched tightly, attempting to suppress a surge of emotion. Then he methodically outlined the plan. Okay.
12時にここで会おう。
Yo, midnight. I hope we don't meet the guard who comes knocking at the door at around midnight or something. With a gentle press, he placed his pocket watch in my palm. His eyes filled with silent promise. My fingers traced the contours of the watch's lid, and I nodded in understanding. The task was simple enough. The rules of this manner are not definitive. Despite my transgressions, Olivia's forbearance hints at the measure of flexibility. Perhaps that's why I'm still allowed to remain in this manner and even converse with Edward once more today. Besides, I could recall the employee handbook mention of night watchmen. This assured that the corridors posed no true threat. If an unsettling feeling crept into my heart, I could swiftly retreat to the safety of my room. And if, against all odds, my daring escape failed, I could always resort to begging Lady Jane for a favor once more. With a reckless glint in my eyes, I met Edward's gaze. After all, we are the notorious maid. Let's go. With a furtive glance at the pocket watch, I grasped the doorknob, my fingers trembling slightly. But the hinges, previous generously oiled, yielded to my touch without a single creak, allowing me to open the door silently. Door to empty rooms need to be open, but I'll make an exception this time. Oh wait, does that mean even her room was being open all this time? The weight of 4 transgressions pressed upon me. each one stone in my heart. The air crackled with the potential expulsion of fearsome storm brewing. However, a defiant spirit, a glimmering candle in the darkness, ignited within me. With a very sigh, I slipped out, the door closing with a final thud, leaving my actions to be judged by the uncertain hand of fate. Okay, I'm really scared now, okay? From the vantage point of the master bedroom window, the mausoleum stood unmissable. This meant its presence dominated the landscape directly opposite the servants' quarters. With the urgency of the fugitive, I sprinted across the first floor corridor, the feeling of a thief clinging to my skin. My heart pounded in my chest, each footstep echoing in the stillness. Every shadow held the potential danger, and I was primed to vanish into the darkness at a moment's notice. Yet the anticipated encounter never materialized. Oh, good thing. The profound silence that shrouded the manor house instilled a sense of unease, making me question the presence of any night watchman altogether. Is anyone here? With a murmured word, barely audible, I stepped out into the courtyard. The stillness of the night was shattered by the sudden intrusion of an orange glow, slowly but steadily approaching. Okay, who's this orange glow? I retreated into the shadows of the trees, peeking cautiously from behind a sturdy trunk. If anyone was bold enough to flout the rules, I reasoned it could be only Edward. However, as the approaching figure materialized in the moonlight, my heart lurched and the blood drained from my face, leaving me pale and trembling. Huh? Wait, what? A figure emerged from the darkness, her form obscured by flowing robe. It was Olivia, her imposing frame barely concealed by the garment. Okay, is she making Mr. Robert sick so that she can just use all the riches of the house for herself? Because otherwise she would be just thrown out? I don't know, man. Despite the wind whipping at the lantern in her hand, its flame revealed a captivating aura that transcended the attempt at anonymity. My eyes glued to her every move, I watched her progress with a mixture of trepidation and fascination. That path leads to the annex building. Annex building is for the guests. Why is she going there? What could possibly be going on in an empty annex building at the late hour? My curiosity simmered, urging me to follow Olivia's footsteps with cautious vigilance. Olivia's pace faltered after a short distance and she paused before a dilapidated structure. Okay, I think this is gonna lead to a bad ending, is it? Halfway between the courtyard and the imposing annex building, I had caught a glimpse of it earlier. The cabin appeared ready to crumble at any moment, its weathered timbers groaning under the weight of neglect. Olivia, however, seemed unfazed by its precarious state, while with a practiced hand she opened the door and slipped inside. As the door creaked shut, I carefully approached and gave the knob a gentle turn. Oh boy, why would you do that? Of course, she wouldn't leave it unlocked. Something of immense significance must have been concealed within those walls, evident at the deliberate act of securing the door at that unsettling hour. My mind raced with possibilities and the urge to unravel the truth, but then the weight of my initial business came crashing down, leaving me no choice but to turn away, a frustrated sigh escaping my lips. Well, she's the housekeeper, so I guess working overnight wouldn't entirely be unexpected. If she had to sneak around like that in the middle of the night, it must have been way more urgent than I first thought. I attempted to rationalize her action, justifying them in my mind as I turned and walked away, yet the weight of my concern remained manifesting in the heaviness of my step. Reaching the mausoleum, I found Edward leaning against the cold stone, his eyes closed in contemplation. Bathed in a soft moonlight, he seemed unaware of his hair, glowing an ethereal blue, its color intensified by the night. This gave him an air of quiet mystique, looking quite handsome, my dear Edward. Oh boy. My lord, I'm here. The sound of my call reached him, drawing his eyes open gradually. A gentle smile, like the first rays of dawn, spread across his face.
よく来てくれたね。大変じゃなかった？
Nah, bro. I'm a regular here by now.
そう？よかったね。迎えに行くことができなくて心配だったんだ。
That's alright, buddy. We could get into serious trouble if someone catches us. Bro, you brought the blanket as well.
話が長くなりそうだから準備したよ。
Oh, is it story time today? I'm alright, I'm not feeling the chill too much. I extended my hand with haste, hoping to convince him of the mild temperature, but Edward didn't seem to believe me. No, I really mean it, my lord, you should put on the blanket. Edward's hand appeared, palm open and inviting, his hands outstretched like a bridge waiting to be crossed. I locked my eyes with him, then intertwined our fingers. He slowly pulled me closer, the warmth of his touch radiating through my palm. He led me to the seat beside him, his gentle tug a silent command to join him.
これはどう？こうすれば二人ともかけられるけど。
Okay, that's kinda cute. Edward was draping the blanket over our shoulders when his hand stilled the blanket suspended in midair. A gasp, a gasp escaped his lips not from exhaustion but from the sudden awareness of our proximity. The warmth of his presence intensified under the shared blanket, and I turned to look at him, drawn in by his nearness. Okay, so cute, boy. Oh. The silence stretched thick and heavy until Edward, like a rusty, wind-up toy, began to turn his hand. His cheek flushed with a rosy glow, visible in the moonlight's soft luminescence.
あ、ごめん。近すぎた。
Uh, you're making my heart race, and it's giving me butterflies. It's alright, you were just trying to be thoughtful.
気まずかったら立ってもいいよ。いや、僕が立った方がいいね。
No, wait. I mean, if it's making you uncomfortable, then I can't do anything, but I would appreciate if you'd stay beside Clara. What? I'm perfectly fine, my lord. Please remain seated. Oh no, what happened? My attempt to rise from the ground became a comedic spectacle as my feet tangled in my precarious depths of the blanket. And with the unwitting participant in my improper performance attempted to regain his balance, but our efforts were doomed to failure. Okay, and then he fell down. Yay! We rolled across the floor in a flurry of limbs. When we finally came to a stop, our faces were only a couple of inches apart. I couldn't help but laugh at the ridiculousness of the blanket engulfing us like a playful octopus. Edward, caught up in the unexpected turn of events, soon joined in, our laughter filling the night with joy and a touch of self-deprecating humor. Okay, I hope our laughter doesn't go outside and come into notice by Olivia. After a while, breathless and grinning, we untangled ourselves and continued our conversation, the memory of our shared clumsiness forever etched in our minds.
大丈夫？
Yes, my lord. I laughed so hard I can hardly stand up straight, okay? My
実は
stomach
僕も
hurts. The seriousness of our intended conversation was swept away by the wave of embarrassment, and a lighter atmosphere emerged, filled with playful laughter. The shift in mood allowed me to reframe my question, infusing it with a touch of humor that mirrored the newfound ease we now shared. Well, now the air is clean. Perhaps you'd like to share what brings you here tonight.
二人で気楽に話がしたかったんだ。
The day felt suffocating, filled with the weight of countless eyes watching our every move. The persistent scrutiny of other servants made it difficult for Edward and me to find a comfortable space for our private conversation. Edward gave a hefty sigh and pushed himself into a seated position. And
君が僕を信頼しているのか知りたかったし。
oh, poor guy has no close person at this manner. Without questions, I trust you, my lord.
うん。今は僕もそう思っている。
The rigidity of his features softened, replaced by expressions that spoke of ease and comfort. The seriousness that had once clouded his eyes was now replaced by a spark of youthful spirit. This wasn't a setback, but a revelation. It warmed my heart to see him finally open up and reveal his true self. When he became aware of the intensity of my gaze, Edward looked away.
それじゃあ少し歩こうか。夜に見る庭園はかなり美しいんだ。
No, I don't. I'm scared that people will find us. The garden is probably too dark to see much, wouldn't you say? The garden, which I had noticed through the corridor windows before coming here, was completely shrouded in impenetrable darkness. But Edward, his hand outstretched with unwavering confidence dispelled it with a reassuring gesture.
言ってみればわかるよ。
Okay, I'll be singing a different tune, you say? Okay, it is really pretty. I like this background. A kind soul had preemptively lit the lamps, elevating the sun as its soft glow illuminated the path. This is what gave him confidence, I reckon, having a look around. My word, this place is a complex metamorphosis from earlier
夜の
stage.
庭は邸宅の自慢なんだ。以前はここで一晩中パーティーを開いていたみたいなんだよ。
Don't tell me you still do that, do you?
いろんな事情が重なってね。
What? Why? Edward's voice, though laced with a hint of worry, carried a hopeful melody I haven't heard before.
お父さんが全開されたらまた始めようかと思う。
Now I think I'm pretty sure it's Olvia's doing, due to which his father is still bedridden now. I have full confidence that he will recover. Lifting the candle stand beside me, I met Edward's warm smile and we began our walk. The air hung heavy till we reached the fountain where he finally broke the silence and spoke.
君も知っているだろうが、この邸宅では誰も僕に話しかけてくれない。
It probably has to do something with Miss Queller's orders.
単に指針のためではない。クララ、僕は
You are what? A ghost? No, please, no. Edward's lips became a tight line. The subject is still a thorny barrier to his voice. Okay, easy, cursed. The candlelight flickered and danced in his hazy blue eyes, reflecting the turmoil within. Sensing his struggle, I reached out, a silent offering of comfort. Perhaps we can discuss this matter next time, if you don't feel comfortable.
次はないかもしれない。
What are you saying? What? He murmured in a voice trembling with unease. Startled, I yelped and flinched. My focus had been solely on him, rendering me oblivious to the stone peak jutting out from the ground. Acting swiftly, Edward wrapped his arms around me, but inadvertently dropped the candlestand. Wait, are we dying now? Wait, did he catch us? The shortened candle tumbled down, its flames sputtering and dying in the darkness. A moment of silence settled upon us before Edward cupped my cheek, his gentle touch. Okay, he's not gonna kill us, okay? I believe in you, buddy. He has a pretty hairstyle. Oh, but I'm scared. A moment of silence settled upon us before Edward cupped my cheek, his touch gentle and reassuring.
大丈夫？
Yes, my lord, but the candle lights. With a heavy sigh escaping my lips, I felt the tension ease from Edward's embrace as he loosened his hold.
音がしたから人が来るだろう。部屋まで連れて行ってあげる。
Was it that loud? I assure you I'm all right. Please proceed ahead of me.
いや、僕が呼び出したのに一人にさせるのはちょっとあれだよ。
But I am your servant after
ど
all.
うせ戻るでしょ？
What do you mean? My room is on the opposite side of your piercing epiphany jolted me upright. You're returning to the mausoleum again? Edward inclined his head in tepid acknowledgement.
眠れない日には時々そうするんだ。気分が良くなるんだよ。
Oh, he must miss his mom very much. Even on a night as frigid as this, you'll surely fall ill if you remain awake all night.
さっきは寒くないって言ってなかった？
I mean, I did, but it most certainly is now. Edward's lips twisted into a bemused smile, his surprise betraying him at the bold declaration. He shifted awkwardly, unable to meet my gaze, and glanced down at the floor.
仕方ないね。
His expression bore a curious mix of embarrassment and an unexplicable pleasure, as if he had never encountered such a feeling before. Astonishment washed over me as I witnessed this unfamiliar side of him, prompting me to turn my head away in surprise. Okay, but he's so cute. I mean, his pained expression. Uh, The artist did a very good job of portraying him. The feeling was strange, a nebulous sensation that eluded comprehension. Cloaked in the pretense of vigilance, I shadowed him as we made our way through the labyrinth corridors, our destination, Edward's room. He pivoted towards me, his eyes asking a silent question. Are you happy now? My hand instinctively reached for the doorknob. Edward's face contorted in bafflement as he restrained my hand.
男の部屋に入ってもいい？
I'm sorry. Oh, that was. Ah, it's quite alright, sir. I have been in here countless times while cleaning.
そうなんだ。
Despite my answer, Edward's discomfort was palpable. He sought to hide his discomposure by burying his head in his hands. Having sensed my concern for vexation,
入ってもいいよ。
thank you. Though his shyness was unnecessary, the tips of his ears betrayed a blush, their color vibrant against the paleness of his skin. Okay, his blush looks very beautiful on him, and he looks so handsome, angel, like, oh my god. Pardon my intrusion, sir. If you pardon. I pushed the door open and surveyed the room within. A pleasant surprise awaited me. Edward's room was meticulously tidy, a testament to the effort to maintain order despite the lack of interest in the actual owner of this room. I sauntered over to the wardrobe and casually selected a change of clothes. Edward, who had been stationed by the closed door, dashed towards me with surprised agility.
クララ、僕のクローゼットをなぜ？
Yo, why are you doing all this, buddy? I mean, yo, it's for you to change into. Here's your nightshirt.
ああ、うん。ありがとう。
Would you like assistance in changing into your nightshirt? Okay, I forgot she was a man. Maybe she was supposed to do this, but his eyelids fluttered rapidly before widening in surprise. I'm just as surprised as you, Edward. Clara is being bold now. The flush on his cheeks extended to the tip of his nose, a lingering effect of the cold, perhaps. No, no,
いや、
no.
本当に大丈夫だよ。一人でもちゃんと着れるよ。
I nodded respectfully, observing as Edward hastily snatched the nightshirt and shuffled away. He isn't a lady, I suppose. I decided to respect Edward's autonomous choice. Once he was changed, Edward informed me I was free to leave if I desired. However, I remained adamant. Okay, well, guess Clara's gonna see you tucked in bed and make sure that you are asleep. And only then she'll leave, I guess. Ignoring anxiety stirred within me as Edward, now lying on his bed, cast repeated glance towards the window. The mausoleum, his mother's final resting place, seemed to exert an undeniable pull on him. I intend to remain here until you fall asleep, so there's no point in persisting. Dang, that's a lot. I don't think I'd be able to sleep if someone is pressuring me to sleep. With directness, I cut through the silence, and Edward responded with a grim nod.
クララ、
I'm not a child.
僕は子供ではない。
And when have I ever treated you as such?
今がそうじゃない？
You're mistaken. Do you truly wish for a demonstration of what treating someone like a child is like? I took a seat on the edge of the bed and began to sing him lullaby, mimicking the soothing melody my mother used to sing when I was a child. Edward paused, his brow furrowed in perplexity. What troubles you?
この歌、どこかで聞いたことがあると思う。
Wait, really? No way. It's a popular lullaby. My mother used to sing it to me when I was troubled.
お母さんが。どんな方か聞いてもいい？
As long as you don't find it trivial, of course. My tales, for the most part, chronicle my mother's admonitions for various mishaps. Despite my inability to fathom what he found so captivating about my mundane narratives, Edward steadfastly urged me to continue. My grumpy visage, drained of further stories, stared back at him. Why do you find stories of my humiliation so amusing? Edward's hand darted out in a flurry of motion, a desperate attempt to undo the misunderstanding. It's not.
面白いんじゃなくて不思議で、乳母は僕を知らなかったから。
What about your mother? I dare say you never caused her trouble.
いや、そんなにいい子じゃなかったのに。
Well, judging by the peaceful way you lie on your bed, I say you are. A playful glint in my eye, I reached out to poke his cheek, but he swiftly intercepted my hand.
本当にそう見えるの？
Oh, what else? Pulled by the sudden force, I found myself struggling against the bedsheet. The momentum threw me on top of him as if I were to ease him alive. His eyes widened in surprise, clearly not anticipating this unexpected turn of events. Attempting to quell the frantic pounding in my chest, I parted my lips to utter a word. Oh shit! A shared reflex propelled us both upright, our eyes drawn to the imposing door as if by an invisible force. Man, shit, bro. It was going so nice. But no, someone had to disturb us, then what? Oh well. A sudden recollection of the handbook sparked in my mind, prompting me to hesitantly address him. My lord, should we remain silent? Edward offered no response to my query. His face strained of color as he had committed some heinous act.
お母さんだ。
What? No way. What? I beg your pardon?
お母さんが僕を呼んでいる。
No. His words sparked confusion within me. What kind of mother would pound on her son's door like that? A grimace contorted his face at the sound of renewed pummeling on the door.
お墓参りに行くたびに君のことをたくさん考えているんだ。
The confusion in his eyes gradually faded, replaced by untraversable darkness.
僕が悪いことをしたんだ。
No, it's not. You cannot truly believe that, can you? A familiar face surfaced from my mind. The face of the one who taught me the rules. Was it Miss Quayler? Did Olivia Quayler claim that was your mother? My gaze locked onto his hand as he grasped the necklace tightly around his neck. The red gem, which had been glinting in the moonlight, vanished into the shadows cast by his hand. A maelstrom of rage churned within me, threatening to erupt like a volcano. Never mind, I'll just prove to you it's not her. No, wait, no, Clara, no. Even if it were the spirit of the lady of the house, I would not stand idly by and witness her torment her own son. With steely resolve, I rose to my feet, only to be abruptly pulled back by the restraining force around my wrist. Edward had not released his hold on my hand, his grip unwavering. Okay, this is cute, but I am scared. Please
やめてくれ。
don't. Yeah, if it's not his mother, what if it's some other ghost, okay? But my lord.
僕は大丈夫。ただ、もう寝たい。
Unable to resist, I yielded and settled back on the edge of the bed. Edward's eyelids fluttered shut, the blue moon painting his face in a ghostly light. Keeping an eye on the door, I sang a soothing lullaby, my voice a gentle balm to his troubled spirit. As the last note faded into the quiet night, sleep descended upon him, offering a temporary haven from the chilling echoes of the door. The restless pounding, unlike what Edward had said before, still haunted his sleep. Withdrawing my hand from his grasp, I slowly rose to my feet, its step a weighty echo in the stillness of the night. As I neared the door, its darkness seemed to beckon me closer. Okay, the wait is over. Let's continue, but I'll give you guys a break for my voice. We'll continue it without me commenting.
どう？結婚前に名のある巨匠のもとで就学されたそうだ。うん。お父さんと結婚するまでは。母は故郷が恋しくなるたびに海を見るためにこの絵を描いたそうだ。いい感じでしょ？ そんなことができるだろうか。そうだろうね。
Okay, maybe you guys didn't hear me, but yeah. Yes, the handbook, having personally experienced the repercussion of unchecked gossip and misplaced judgment, I now have so much to say on the matter. The events to this day have provided me with a wealth of knowledge that I was determined to share. Has it ever occurred to you that perhaps those instructions might be misleading? An oppressive silence descended upon the hall as I finished speaking. Every face turned towards me edged with disapproval and contempt. Alice, who had been observing with arms crossed, finally broke the stillness with a cutting retort delivered in a frigid tone. Just because you arrived later than us doesn't mean you are privy to all the details, Clara. Then enlighten me. What is it I do not know? Our eyes met for a brief moment before Alice hastily averted a gaze, quickly followed by Thomas and Bruce. Never mind, I have work to do. Nevertheless, Clara gave it some serious thought. Feeling the absurdity of the situation knotting in my gut, I offered a shrug of nonchalance. I turned my back on them and refused to grant their animosity even a flicker of my attention. Though their disapproval echoed in the form of audible grunts, I remained resolutely unfazed. I was gathering my cleaning supplies and heading outside when I spotted Edward seated at a distance. It had been less than an hour since we had left for lunch. Surprised by his unexpected presence, I hurried over. Lord Edward. Edward's shoulders stiffened and he hurriedly wiped his mouth. Oh boy.
早かったね。
What brings you here without taking your lunch first?
ただ、もどかしくて。
Out of the corner of my eye, I spotted a small packet resting beside him. It appeared meager for a meal, and concern gnawed at me. I opened my mouth to speak, but before I could utter a word, something was thrust into my mouth. I instinctively took a bite, and the biscuit crumbled against my tongue, releasing a symphony of flavors. The exquisite butter and bittersweet chocolate melded together, creating a taste sensation unlike any I had ever experienced. It was heavenly.
君のことを思い出して
Oh,
持
you
ってきた
brought
よ。
this for me? Thank you. He watched me intently for a moment, then shoved the entire pouch into my hand with a conspiratorial grin. It was clear he was bribing me with a delicious treat to ensure my cooperation. They're delicious.
多めに持ってきたから、たくさん食べて。
Thank you. I joined him on the steps and we settled into a companionable silence as I arranged the remaining treats. The gentle breeze carried the scent of snack, making it taste even more divine. Okay, guys, at this point, I feel like there's going to be major heartbreak ahead of time. This preparation would have I don't know what to say, but this is so wholesome. At least this part. Halfway through, we craved a cup of tea to settle the stomach. As Edward took a sip, he inquired about my schedule for the remainder of the day. With an eye roll, I pondered the task ahead and then concisely listed them. After I finished cleaning the mausoleum, not much really other than, oh, it's also the day I visit the apothecary. Olivia provided me with the details earlier. She instructed me to report to the main gate after completing my duties, where the coachman would wait me to escort me to town.
君、一人で行くの？
Yes. As you may already know, this visit is supposed to be discreet. To be honest, it feels like Olivia is setting me up into some trap or some danger. Maybe she's gonna kill Clara at this rate. However, with only a handful aware of Robert precarious state, reversing the decision wasn't an option. Upon hearing my explanation, Edward turned towards the front door, his expression grave.
クララ、僕が見送ってもいいかな？
I mean, I don't mind. What now? He offered a brisk nod without adding an explanation. Still unsure of the situation, I leaned close to his ear and whispered my question. Is something troubling you?
いや、ただ、もう正門くらいは大丈夫だと思って。
Huh? Wait. Despite my worried expression, he only offered me a cryptic smile. While I didn't believe he would face any repercussion for accompanying me to the gate, I felt uneasy for reasons I could not explain. With Edward's assistance, I completed the cleaning tasks with ease, returned the tools, and exited the building. Edward, who had been waiting for me, repeated his earlier question.
本当に一人で行っても大丈夫？
Okay, it's a trap, it's a trap. It's screaming, it's a trap. I stopped abruptly and met his gaze directly. If you're concerned, you're more than welcome to join me.
僕もそうしたいんだけど。
But this I started away, confirming my suspicions that it was again the hidden truth. I turned away intentionally, feigning annoyance. It's not as if I'm going there because I particularly wanted to be there in the first place.
ごめんね。クララ、怒ってるの？
No, I'm not. Of course not. I am not upset. In fact, quite the opposite. I feel perfectly content. Mr. Top towards the gate, bickering playfully. The carriage stood opposite the gate, but the coachman was nowhere to be seen. It appeared he had left for a brief errand. I unlatched the door and slid in. The condition of this place has changed quite dramatically. The interior was spotless and odor-free, a stark contrast to its previous state. It was clean enough for even Edward to find it acceptable. Are you absolutely certain you wouldn't prefer to remain outside?
乗ってみるよ。
As I was about to step... Wait. A disquieting sense of unease washed over me as I recognized the unsettling shift in his demeanor. You are quite alright, aren't you? He cautiously lowered his foot from the curbstone, his movement suggesting a response to my unanswered question. I held my breath, watching him approach with a mixture of curiosity and nervousness. An unseen hand seemed to grip my heart, squeezing it with an icy fear, its origin a shrouded mystery. His initial move was one of the cautious exploration, but he quickly transitioned to a confident stride, as if he had overcome his hesitation. With each step he took, a strange joy began to bloom on his face, only to be extinguished just as quickly. Edward abruptly halted and frowned, as if sensing something amiss. A crimson stream trickled from his parted lips, staining his collar. Edward? Yo, what? Shit. Panic surged through me as I leaped from the carriage and cradled his collapsing body. Edward looked up, his face pale and drawn. A pale groan escaped his lips. Why, what is happening to you? My vision tunnel filled only with him and the horror of the situation. Edward, coughing blood, spoke in voice filled with despair.
やはり無理みたいだ。
What? Oh, why?
ごめんね。君には心配ばかりかけているね。
No. We need to get you to rest. And we need to call the doctor. He closed his eyes, accepting the inevitable reality he had recognized.
やっぱり一生。
After all, an eternity what? Pale as death, Edward appeared to be on the brink of succumbing. My body quaked with fear and regret. Had I known what would transpire, I would have never urged him on. Please, somebody help! Help, Lord Edward, please! A scream tore from my throat as I called for help, pulling Edward into my arms. It was the only thing I could do. As consciousness flickered back, I found Olivia's stern visage looming Lord Edward. Clara, compose yourself. There's blood, ma'am, on his lordship's lips. Clara, I stared, muttering incoherently and met her unwavering stare. Her silence was answer enough, and I waited, breathless, for her next words. I shall handle this affairs, Clara. You tend to your own. Mine? Memories, elusive and fragmented, swirled within my head. A frantic search for clarity yielded not by gnawing worry for Edward. You refer to the trip into town? Precisely. Is there an issue with that? No, ma'am. Olivia's disapproval, evident in the sharp click of her tongue, spurred me into action. Clara, let me give you a piece of advice. Okay, I know what she's gonna tell. Something focus on your own tasks and leave the business of others to them. Without a word, I stepped outside the room, the weight of situation pressing down upon me. Leaning against the cold stone wall, I glanced at my maid uniform, its pristine white now marred by crimson stain. It served as a stark reminder of the events that had transpired. Yo, now how is she going to buy those supplies without it gnawing at her mind? The bustling town square is stark contrast to the miner's quietude, puzzled with activity. Excitement had been coursing through my veins at the prospect of this errand until this afternoon. Yet a shadow of concern lingered, casting a pall over the vibrant scene. Edward's well-being weighed heavily on my mind, painting the world in shades of red. With a heavy sigh, I looked out vacantly through the quarter light, the sympathetic gaze of the coachman reflecting my internal turmoil. I'm sure he'll be all right. Very well. Well, since you are here in town, why not lift your spirits a bit? Though the urge to dismiss his concern was strong, decorum held me back. A cold nod and a strained smile were all I could manage. With a leaden heart, I grasped the carriage door and stepped out onto the bustling cobblestones. My gaze, unseeing and heavy, scanned the rows of shops, searching for the address hidden among their colorful facades. My destination nestled amongst the numerous shops lining the boulevard, awaited. The vast expanse of the countryside, coupled with the scarcity of medical professionals, meant relying on the family doctor's wisdom for any ailment. I watched the apothecary carefully as he read Olivia's letter, his protruding into consideration, then began to measure its various appearance. His movements precise and practiced, as I waited anticipation. Each passing moment, something unexpected appeared before me. Before I could grasp the situation, the medicine stood complete. The silence stretched thick as the apothecary's hushed words hung in the air. His smile, a riddle waited to be solved. A little warning next time, eh? Makes things smoother. Huh? Certainly. The whispered word piqued my curiosity, but I responded nonetheless. Wait, what? A little warning next time, huh? I stuffed the medicine and instructions into my bag with a hurried movement and stole a quick glance at him before I exited the shop. Curiosity kills Clara. They were, yet here I am again. The moment I stepped out of the shop, I pulled the paper from the bag and eagerly scanned the contents. My eyes devoured the contents. A concise recipe, precise dosages, a list of precautions, and a detailed list of forbidden ingredients. Just one element stood out, the repeated assertion that had felt Olivia's every request. I see nothing peculiar. I approached the carriage spartanly and waved behind the shop, my hand reaching for the doorway. A burning desire to return home and tend to Edward consumed me. I'm back. So soon? There's nothing out of the ordinary. Well, I've gotten something rather special for us. What that might carriage and take a well-deserved rest. After the question, how else can I enjoy a proper drink then? Heavens above, regardless of the throbbing headache, the cold sting in my temples, the coachman continued his unfiltered pronouncements. From the coachman's ward, it appeared we would be forced to seek refuge in the nearby tavern until the road was cleared. I resigned myself to this temporary delay and watched as the coachman led the horses towards the tavern. The sudden enforced break allowed for a moment of introspection. Promptly, an idea struck me. Should I get Edward something? Though Edward desired the freedom himself, it was I who inadvertently caused him the accident. But what would he like? My gaze fell upon the vibrant posters on the windows of the store, textile store. Bookstore. Where should I get? Wait, let me see straight again. He struggles to sleep every night. The thought of him standing alone beneath the night sky filled me with a pang of concern. I entered the shop, my voice trembling slightly as I inquired about the sleep remedies. The doctor and calming them. Noticing the distress on my face, responded with a knowing, is it for lover perhaps? Oh no, nothing like that. Just a friend who has stopped sleeping. I thought I'd see if you have that my own. Good friend you are. The words held a hint of mischief as he spoke, then vanished into the depths of the dispensing room. A short while later, he reappeared, handing me a meticulously crafted vial of medicine and concise message. Tell him to swallow one of these before bed, and then he should sleep like a baby. Thank you very much. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the land, I returned to the bed. The long journey had taken its toll, leaving my body weary and aching. I massaged my throbbing back and then descended from the carriage. Olivia waited me at the entrance. I have returned, ma'am. Did you obtain the prescriptions successfully? Indeed, I did. Let us hear. I presented the medications and note to Olivia, her eyes scrutinizing the contents. A flicker of recognition crossed her face, followed by a satisfied smile. Finally, I could ask the question that had been burning in my mind. With the hesitation of intake of breath, I dared to ask. And how fares his lordship? May I inquire? Olivia's response, veiled in silence and a knowing smile, offered no answers. Dejected, I retreated to my room, the weight of uncertainty heavy on my heart. Days turned into weeks. Edward remained a distant figure, glimpsed only temporarily through the doorway by Olivia. Or the head butler. Oh. Anxiety gnawed at me, fueling a series of uncharacteristic splendors. Then fate intervened in the form of 3-day leave granted by Olivia. Those days, each one an eternity, were spent in a silent vigil outside Edward's door. Though today would mark the final day, dawn's early light heralded a frantic cleaning session. I envisioned the state of his room after my absence, picturing dust and disorder. Squatting before the door, I sighed, the undelivered gift heavy in my arms. Part of me yearned to pound on the wood and demand his presence. Why would the door never open? A memory surfaced. Edward's nocturnal visits to the mausoleum. If only I could use magic to unlock it. Open sesame. Yes! A jolt of terror shot through me, launching me upright in a convulsive motion as I spun around the door, rasped open its rusty hinges, warning in protest. A figure framed in the doorway, bathed in the dim light that led to the crack, abruptly arrested its movement, mirroring my own shock with its sudden stillness. My hands, paralyzed by anxiety, became
クララ、
Here I am. It was Edward. Thinking away disbelief, I rushed towards him. Is that truly you?
うん、僕だよ。
Oh, heavens above. My lips squared, a dam on the verge of collapse against the rising tide of emotion. Then, with a shuddering breath, the dam broke and sobs erupted from me, cascading down my face like a waterfall unleashed. Edward's movements were swift and sure as he stumbled in his arms, strong and comforting, shot out, pulling me to the safety of his room. After a long while, the storm subsided, leaving behind a calm peace. I wiped my tear-streaked face, sniffing softly. Edward reached for a handkerchief. His hand paused awkwardly before retracting. Okay.
もう十分泣いた？
I'm sorry, but please forgive me. I frightened you, didn't I?
いや、泣くとは思わなかった。
But of course I would cry. I was so worried about you. A fresh tear welled up. He gently placed his hand upon my shoulder, silent reassurance.
大丈夫。ちょっと出かけたからといって死ぬわけではないから。
But are you really under some curse? What happened to you that day? So you won't die from doing that? What a change.
うん。
I babbled on, overflowing with joy, while Edward looked at me with a hesitant smile. His face, pale and drawn from illness, held a wistful longing. I felt responsible. Remembering the gift I presented to him, holding my breath in anticipation. Right, I have something for you.
いきなり？
He unwrapped it, a pang of disappointment stabbed at me. What seemed like a treasured item in the shop now appeared hopelessly ordinary in Edward's hands. I frowned, desperately searching for words to explain my purchase. I thought I might bring you something from outside, so I purchased this. It wasn't very expensive.
無理して準備しなくていいのに。
Edward, though remained enthralled by the offering, he cradled it close to his chest, eyes sparkling with an almost childlike fascination, mirroring the unadulterated joy of a young boy discovering a long-awaited treasure. His eyes traced the contours of the gift with gentle reverence, his touch feather-light as if afraid to disturb its delicate magic. As he held it, his gaze seemed to pierce through the object itself, lost in a world of wonder only he could see. A wave of pride, warm and comforting, swept over me, witnessing his unfeigned appreciation, his genuine delight in the simple act of receiving filled my heart with a joy that transcended the object itself.
僕のことを考え、
A gentle smile softened his lips as he fiddled with the necklace around his neck.
ありがとう。大事にするよ。
Ah, well, yes. Please to cherish it. No, wait, it's just medicine. Please consume it when you need it. Realizing my mind had wandered, I lunged forward, my hand outstretched in a belated attempt to offer a more genuine response. Oh, I mean, don't worry, you can do whatever you wish with it. It's quite inexpensive.
いいや、大切に使うよ。
As you wish. The hours that followed were filled with whispered tales. I recounted the happenings at the town where Edward shared his experiences during his illness. Though the separation was brief, it felt like eternity. Regret tugged at me as I rose to leave, unaware of the time constraints. Edward followed me to the doorway, his hand gently resting on my arm. His eyes held a melancholical ray.
また会えるよね。
Yeah, of course. Is there something concerning on your mind?
何事もなかった。
Okay, this is giving you anxiety. With a hopeful smile, he held up the gift, his words echoing his concealed feelings.
今夜は君のおかげでよく眠れそうだよ。
His cheerful demeanor lifted the weight of my words. I returned the smile, Chapter 5. Despite the medication's valiant stand, the clock ticked closer for Robert's illness' relentless shadow. The manor fell under a shroud of melancholy as the news of his condition spread through. His successor, Edward, became busy and rarely visited the mausoleum. The mausoleum never looked so empty before. One day, while cleaning the mausoleum, I felt a presence watching over me. I looked up and met Olivia's piercing gaze. Her eyes filled with distress and shivers down my spine. It feels as if I am to blame. For a brief moment, I wondered if Edward had endured this scrutiny all his life. An overwhelming loneliness still edged over me. Back in the servants' hall, anxious whispers greeted my return. What's going on, Clara? Alice's pale face confirmed my deepest fears. The day we had dreaded with every fiber of our being had arrived. The door to Robert's private chamber was open. Oh boy. Edward, a shadow of his former self, leaned against the doorway, his gaze lost in desolate distance. I pushed through the crowd, my heart a frantic drum against my ribs. His once vibrant eyes were now clouded with a profound grief, reflecting the wreckage of shattered world. I reached him, offering my arm as a fragile support. My eyes darted across the crowded scene, searching for any additional aid in this bleak and unforgiving reality. Anyone I knew joined me in helping. My voice flattered as I spoke. Everyone stared at me, their mouths forbiddingly tight. I blinked confusingly. They felt like complete strangers. Their alienation felt like bottomless pit opening beneath me. This is not the time for entertainment. Olivia, her eyes narrowed to slits, bellowed up the stairs, the sound echoing like a whip crack in the stillness. The servants, previously lounging in languid indifference, were jolted upright, their gazes starting nervously towards the source of commotion. With a swift, purposeful stride, Olivia brushed past Edward, her gaze sweeping the room like a predator assessing its prey. She pressed her lips into a firm line. In deliberate, most ritualistic gesture, she reached out and touched her forehead with the tips of her fingers. That simple gesture, though fleeting, was laden with unspoken meaning, painting a picture of the deceased so vivid, so eerily real. Her gaze lingered on Edward, scrutinizing his colorless complexion. A ripple of emotion crossed the still surface of her eyes, a single stone disturbing the calm. But the ripples faded away just as quickly. The surface returned to its former placidity, leaving no trace of turmoil beneath. Alan, kindly escort the young lord to his chambers at once. With a curt nod to the head butler, Olivia entrusted Edward to his attention. Her eyes then shifted to me, their depths swirling with an unknown intensity that set my heart thrumming in a frenetic rhythm. Her grip, strong and unyielding, held me captive, demanding my full attention. The depths of her eyes held an atrocity so profound, so sickening, that it paralyzed me with terror. Clara, Clara, Clara! Yes, ma'am. Did you waive or share the prescribed medications? Olivia's grip on my shoulders felt like two iron manacles, restricting not just my flesh but my ability to breathe like a curse. My mind flitted back to Edward's face, his eyes wide with fear and confusion. Unable to vocalize anything, I vigorously shook my head in denial. Olivia tilted her head, her eyes boring into mine with an intensity that rivaled the midday sun. A slow, cold smile, predatory as a viper slithering across the sun-baked sand, crept across her lips. I see. Okay, why are you so happy? Like, it seems like you made Robert's health condition even worse. Maybe the last medication was the final straw. Then, as abruptly as it came, her strength ebbed away. She smiled one last time and turned away, leaving me gulping for air and confused. Crushed by the overwhelming pressure, my legs gave away and I crumbled to the ground. Amidst the oblivious crowd, I pulled myself upright, each breath a painful struggle. A flurry of activity descended upon the manor, shattering its usual stillness. Servants bustled like industrious ants, their movement driven by urgency. Some, with grim faces, tackled the daunting task of preparing for a funeral. Others, their tasks no less important, turned their attention to welcoming the attendees, ensuring every detail was impeccable. Even the ivy, a tenacious vine that had long claimed the main entrance as its own, had succumbed to the gardener's determined efforts, revealing the weathered wall beneath. Even the mausoleum, once a place of solitude for Edward and me, now echoed with the footsteps of other servants, their presence a grim reminder of the impending funeral. For some reason, the manor, although cleaner and more beautiful than it had been in the past few months, could not shake off the oppressive cloak of gloom that clung to it like a shroud. Somehow it seems to have gotten even worse. My brow was slick with sweat, and I used the worn sleeve of my shirt to wipe it away. A sigh threatened to escape my lips, but I swallowed it down, the weight of worry heavy in my gut. Olivia was a whirlwind of insanity that day. Did you wave or share the apothecary prescribed medicines? Then the memory of the apothecary's words echoed in my mind, as clear as the hand scrawled warning on the parchment he'd given me. He'd warned in his note about the forbidden ingredients, the ones a patient in Robert's condition should never be exposed to. Confirmed that he had crafted the medication according to Olivia's precise instructions. No way. A sinister picture gave me chills. My fingers unconsciously reached up to soothe a stray of strand hair that escaped my braid, its coolness providing a fleeting distraction from the unsettling image. Across the room, Edward moved with a chilling purpose, his face etched with a grim premonition. He seemed to preordain the death of his father, Robert. A list detailing the impending arrival of those who would bear witness to the tragedy, letters bearing a black wax seal like a harbinger of doom, had been dispatched, calling upon acquaintances from all the corners of the land. One by one, the guests began to arrive. They were a motley crew, drawn to the manor by a morbid curiosity and the weight of unspoken expectations. At the appointed hour, we were all summoned to the grand hall, the air thick with a palpable tension that threatened to suffocate. As we stood in the respectful line, heads bowed in silent tribute, a footman would announce each arrival in monotonous tone. Then Edward would emerge, his expression a mask of stoicism, and greet each visitor with practiced cordiality.
遠方までありがとうございます。
Please, Lord Edward, do not express such burdens. I can hardly imagine what you must be going through. Allow me to escort. I cannot read this. This is so gloomy. What do you mean unsettling aura to this place? Someone just. There's a funeral in this manor. What did you want? Like party vibes here? And they dare to utter just slander in public. Did you believe it? Curse ridiculous. If such a thing as a curse existed, I would have been buried a long time ago. A frustrated groan escaped my lips as Thomas shuffled towards me, a tray laden with food held in one hand. Thomas paused, his gaze catching mine, an eyebrow arcing quizzically. Didn't you know? I'm quite surprised. Didn't his lord tell you? Are you saying that you're one of those who buys into their whispers? I get it. So that's why you've been sticking around him for so long. He seemed to understand my situation, setting the tray down in front of me with a gentle thud before sinking into the seat beside me. Leaning close, he spoke in hushed tones, but the remainder of his voice was a claptrap. Edward was the son of Satan, said he. His explanation, rambling on about the bizarre occurrences plaguing the manor, felt hollow and unconvincing. Lord Robert had been killed by Edward, who had been draining his soul. Can you stop your stupidity, Thomas? I am tired of whatever bullshit you're spewing. You can't be serious. You two have witnessed the shadows, haven't you? I have. Then must you must have seen who the shadows resemble. There was a time when I could have sworn I saw the shadow take the form of Edward. It was brief, obscured by the flickering firelight, but the image remained etched in my memory. Nonetheless, just because it took its form doesn't mean he did it. You're completely bewitched by Edward, and you're completely insane. At that point, the very thought of food turned my stomach. Nausea churned within me, making it impossible to even contemplate taking a bite. As I stormed out of the dining room, my eyes landed on Edward at the foot of the staircase. He was absorbed in reviewing the list of guests with the head butler, yet even the ever stoic servant seemed to maintain a defined distance. Everyone but me, was actively avoiding contact with Edward in fear of a curse that didn't exist. As I stood there, bathed in cold silence of the hallway, I couldn't help but feel a bitter sense of betrayal. The funeral for Lord Robert had just concluded, but the servants, like myself, were not permitted to witness the ceremony. Tradition dictated such separation, though necessity often demanded exceptions. Today, I was one of those exceptions, my lowly status momentarily elevated by the task of cleaning the aftermath of mourning. As I swept, I couldn't but help overhear snippets of conversations from the gathered staff. The air buzzed with whispers and speculation, not so much about the departed Robert, but about his son, Edward. The recently revealed contents of Lord Robert's will had ignited a wildfire of curiosity and gossips within the manor's walls. It seemed the guests, despite their outward solemnity, were far more preoccupied with the prospect of inheritance than with grief. So rude. I cannot imagine what Edward is going through at this point. He must be so sad, so lonely. I trust the legal instruments regarding the distribution of estate have been duly prepared. Perhaps you have some insights into the allocation of various properties. Indeed, I cannot read all this stupidity. I mean, this visitor. So seriously, this is actually it's very fitting. The name is actually very fitting. Under the thorns, literally everything is uh, so spiky and hurtful. Curious, I turned towards the source of the disturbance, piercing to gather the situation from murmurs of the gathered guests. Is that indeed Edward? His expression remains clouded. The terms of his father's will, it seems, have cast a shadow upon his countenance. Wait, why did it not mention his name? Shouldn't the entire property go to him and not some random acquaintance? Was it truly so shocking that he wasn't named in the will? Hey, why are you acting like you are the mistress of the house? And why would you snatch it from the right high hair? Before I could ponder the propriety of the action, she began berating him with a venomous tongue. Have some decency. What's wrong with you, lady?
オリビア、私はただただお父さんが
No, don't listen to her. I believe she's spewing lies. Looking at the grin on her face, or whatever that expression is, I'm sure she made those changes herself. Poor boy. Ah, poor man at this rate. Okay, well, poor Edward. Tears welled up in his eyes, threatening to spill over at any moment. I think it's not the issue that he didn't get any inheritance, but the main issue would be that his father did not mention him, and he feels so insignificant now that even his father didn't think about him, even in his final minutes of his life. Damn, this is so depressing. Then, with the remnants of the dignity clinging to him like tattered clothes, he returned and walked away. The guests, fanning themselves with practiced nonchalance, breathed a collective sigh of relief. No one made a move to follow him. Olivia, with a self-assured air, addressed the remaining guest as if she were the undisputed mistress of the manor. Yeah, I'm pretty sure she wrote everything for herself. No. Though his shoulders were squared, I could see the tremor running through his clenched fists. Blood oozed from a wound in his palm. Crimson stained his skin. I quickly reached out and gently pulled his hand away. Let
花
go of. Our eyes met, a silent exchange passing between us. He blinked rapidly, his expression filled with a mixture of surprise and vulnerability, tears streaming down his pale cheeks. Oh, so sorry. His face contorted in a mask of anguish. In an attempt to shield him from prying eyes, I offered him solace, allowing him to bury his head on my shoulder. Protecting his last shred of dignity was the least I could do. For a moment he remained frozen, then reached up with trembling hands to clutch my shoulders in tight embrace. A choked sob escaped his lips but quickly dried down. Poor Edward, he can't even cry. Raised his head, he pushed me away, his face regaining his usual stoicism.
クララ、見たんだね。
Though countless questions swirled in my mind, I held my tongue, fearing that my words might only exacerbate his pain. He responded to my silence with a bitter smile.
あなたはいつも好奇心旺盛なのに。
But I won't cry this time. As his hand began to withdraw, I instinctively reached out and caught it. I'm not curious about anything. He turned his gaze downwards, his eyes reflecting a deep sadness. We stood there in silence for a long time, the only sound the echo of departing guests across the garden. It seemed that the funeral was concluded even though Edward, the rightful heir who would normally receive the respects, was absent. His whereabouts completely ignored. I felt an urge to rush towards them, grabbed them by their shoulders and scream out my outrage, but I held back, my anger dissolving into profound sadness for Edward. Holy, I did. Wait, what's with the angst? He only continued to trace the outline of my face with his eyes. I met his gaze, then, with a determined tug, pulled away. Won't you join the others, my lord? I.
僕はその権利があるのか？
Don't say that. Of course you do. You are the lord of this manor.
お
Lord?
父さんにも捨てられた子が？クララ、
Tired clown.
僕は疲れた。これ以上は戦いたくもないし、祈りたくもない。
My lord, who dares to make you beg?
何もかもが、みんな僕をそうさせているじゃないか。
Ah! A jolt of surprise coursed through Edward as the first full words escaped his own lips. He shook his head in an attempt to dispel the confusion swirling within him, then hesitantly drew my hand to his forehead. He slowly dropped to his knees, his head bowed low.
分かっているじゃないか。この邸宅に僕の味方はいないよ。ただ君だけが僕を人のように扱ってくれるんだ。
No, I mean, oh, God. His voice, when he spoke, held no trace of accusation but a deep self recrimination that resonated within him like a mournful echo. It was clear, beyond any doubt, that he was blaming himself for the pain he had to endure. Then I will stay by your side. The unwavering vow I had uttered elicited a sharp shake of his head, refusal etched on his face. That he took a step back, his eyes filled with a complex mix of emotions I couldn't quite decipher.
家を出てもっといい場所に行きなさい、クララ。
No, I won't.
古い屋敷に閉じ込められて死ぬのは僕で十分だから。
Don't say that. Wait, Lord. As I turned to follow him, his retreating figure disappeared into the depths of the garden. A chilling question stopped me dead in my tracks. Must I remain by his side until death do us part? My hand instinctively clutched at the fabric of my skirt, knuckles turning white with tension. Frustration welled up, forcing me to squeeze my eyes shut. I don't know. I knew the path ahead would be fraught with hardship and uncertainty, a thorny journey filled with challenges. Yet, even amidst the swelling doubts and anxiety, a single desire burned brightly within me to hold on to Edward, to be his anchor in the storm, his solace in his darkness. Okay, oh god. Dang. The weight of the day's incident pressed heavily upon my heart, yet the demands of work offered little respite. The well known path around the manor, once pristine, now bore the dusty footprints of our departing guests. Following close behind, we servants diligently cleared away the remnants of their visit. As I ventured into the garden, my gaze fell upon the mausoleum. Fallen leaves, a testament to the passing season, lay strewn across its weathered steps, igniting a spark of annoyance within me. Never ending, will this clearing be my prison? With a grumble, I set about raking the rhythmic rasp of the tool against the stone. Beneath the brittle tapestry of fallen leaves, new shoots of life unflinchingly pushed through the earth, a defiant proclamation of spring's imminent arrival. A wave of astonishment washed upon me as I realized the passage of time. Scarcely half a year had passed, yet within the brief span our lives had been irrevocably altered. The unsettling events that had plagued the manor, Edward's alleged curse, the death of Robert, it all felt like a feverish dream, yet the lingering ache in my heart bore witness to its stark reality. As I completed my task, sweeping the last vestiges of autumn from Moslem grounds, a figure caught my eye. A tanned face framed by a tightly pressed flat cap peered from the arched doorway. A leather satchel, bulging with what appears to be letters, hung from his shoulder. He seemed to be searching for someone, prompting me to weaken my pace. Good morning. May I ask you whom you are looking for? Greetings. I was directed to here to find Mr. Edward, but it appears he may be elsewhere. Oh, you mean Lord Edward. Edward had not visited the mausoleum since the funeral, a fact that seemed to have escaped the notice of the postman. His words, laced with an innocent trust, mirrored the lack of interest regarding Edward's well being by those who guided the postman here. I extended a hand towards the postman, my features hardened with resolve. If it's a letter for Lord Edward, I would be happy to deliver it myself. A fleeting urge to strike up a conversation with him did arise. A flicker of surprise crossed the postman's face, quickly replaced by a grateful smile. I was instructed to make sure Mr. Edward reads this first. I accepted the letter, my fingers tracing the embossed seal. There was no sender's name, only a cryptic set of initials. Seems private, maybe I shouldn't be the one to break the seal. Conventionally, all correspondence intended for Edward would first pass through Olivia's hands to ensure his safety. However, the events of the past few days had eroded my trust in Olivia, leaving me with a gnawing unease. Such disrespect in the face of losses beyond comprehension. Have some decency. You can go to hell, Olivia. I don't care about you. The vivid memory of her enraged face, contorted with contempt, flashed across my mind. In the aftermath of the funeral, she had taken on the airs of Manor's mistress, her every action a balanced disregard for Edward's grief. With a newfound purpose, I turned back towards the Manor's house, the letter clutched securely in my hand. My resolve was unwavering. I would see Edward first before Olivia can ever have the chance to intercept the message. I was told the letter had arrived this morning. However, fate, it seemed, had other plans. As I navigated the labyrinth hallways, Olivia materialized before me, her icy hand outstretched as if preordained by some unseen prophecy. Yes, it is for Lord Edward. It is my duty to check the letters addressed to his lord. Please hand it over to me. My tongue stumbled as I attempted to emphasize the letters intended to supplant. But a glacial stare remained unmoved, a silent harbinger of the eviction that surely awaited me. Defeated, I surrendered the letter, relinquished my sole weapon in this silent war. You may deliver it to him. A tempest of questions raged within me. Why was she acting all high and mighty over a letter that was meant to be delivered rightfully to his lord? But I maintained a stoic mask, concealing the agitation beneath. Yeah, good idea. The hours crawled by, each tick of the clock a tormenting reminder of Edward's absence. I skipped dinner until finally, as the fiery fingers of the sunset painted by the crimson, I heard a telltale crunch of craving. I bolted from my seat, the accumulated tension erupting as I saw Edward, this heaved but safe stride towards the shadowed room of the mausoleum. Startled by my sudden appearance, he blinked momentarily, losing his footing. Then a hesitant smile laced with a web of conflicting emotions bloomed on his lips.
クララか元気だった
I'm good, but why why can't good I mean Lord Edward, thank you. You too. The smile mirrored the awkward greeting I offered, my words distant and tentative. He glanced at the letter clutched at my hand, then without a word reached out. Minutes stretched into an eternity as he devoured the message, his brow furrowed in deep concentration. When he finally finished, a heavy sigh escaped his lips.
そうだね。そういう時が来たんだ。クララ、手紙を捨ててくれ。読んでもいいから。
You know that once I take it back, I'll be the one reading the letter, even though you won't allow me to. He withdrew into the manor's vast embrace, swallowed by its unconcealing darkness. Left alone with the echo of his retreating footsteps, I stared down at the now open letter. Dear Edward, grim tidings. I'm afraid the salty winds conspired against my passage, and my arrival is now becalmed before February's frost. It grieves me deeply that I'll miss your father's final voyage. May the hell have mercy on his soul if he has one. Okay, this person is damn sure that his soul is going to hell. Dang. We shall raise a toast to your father soon. Your affectionately, Brandon. Brandon? Scarcely had the ink of the letter dried when a serpent of carriages, all grand and gleaming in the afternoon sun, slithered up the manor's drive, disgorging a cacophony of footmen and horses. They're here, through the gates already. By the heavens, they are arrived ahead of schedule. No matter, we must adapt. Get the kitchens churning, the rooms prepped. Drawn by the commotion, I, along with the rest of the bustling servant swarm, gravitated towards the grand hall, anticipation thickening the air like dust motes in sunbeam. There, before the oaken of entrance, stood Edward, an unaccustomed formality clinging to him. I don't think this guy is gonna bring anything to the table. Might just create more problems. As the doors groaned open, revealing a tableau of opulence, a man stepped into the hall, his middle aged frame draped in a cloak that whispered of faraway ports and sun beached landscapes. He exuded an air of freedom, a stark contrast to the stuffy conversation that permeated the manor's every bix.
邸宅へようこそ、ブランドン卿。
Formal as ever, Edward, though I wouldn't expect a handshake from the Lord. Perhaps a nephew's hug is in order? Edward met the man halfway, a small smile tugging at the corner of his lips. Two minutes, guys. and I'll still continue without speaking for a while. Let's go.
見に行きますか？
Was the aversion personal or an attempt to shield from Lord Brandon's unpredictable presence? Okay, that's kinda adorable. My stomach churned with uncertainty, the dampness blooming on my palms. Dinner service, will I be able to get through it? This unexpected twist had thrust me into an unfamiliar role, a character I hadn't rehearsed, and a stage I felt woefully unprepared for. The vine of worry already untwined around my heart tightened its grip. Despite the anxiety, the preparation for the dinner hummed with controlled chaos. Each rule etched in the manor's history was meticulously followed, additional cutlery gleaming on pristine linen, superfluous seats politely dismissed, sharp-eyed servants privy to the evening's significance, materialized out of shadows, offering hushed critiques of every placement. As I just began scrutinizing my notes, a sharp rap at the door startled me from my focus. Lord Brandon, in a casual finery, exuded an air of relaxed amusement while Edward's face was a storm cloud of disquiet. The tension radiated, causing even Thomas and Alice to stand ramrod straight, their faces etched with ineffable concern. Alice said, "I'll be in the kitchen. Let me know if you need any help." Alice hand, a brief flash of comfort, patted my shoulder before she retreated to the kitchen's sanctuary. Thomas sent a silent shiver. Taking a deep breath that swallowed the bitter knot in my throat, I stepped into the light, confronting the two nobles. Edward, his jaw clenched tight, reflected nervousness, while Brandon, a puzzle wrapped in a smile, studied me with unnerving intensity. "Sorry, I wouldn't normally dare disturb your dedication, but a whisper of your involvement piqued my curiosity." "I beg your pardon?"
席に座って話しましょう、おじさん。
Edward's voice, sharp and abrupt, sliced the conversation before I could grasp its meaning. He ushered his uncle towards a seat, his movement stiff and controlled. That was my job, I thought, when Brandon held out his hand with a friendly smile. "Don't bother. My purpose in summoning you is not to dictate, but to engage in conversation." My gaze shifted to Edward, seeking in his disapproving nod with some justification for the unexpected task. "Then why call me at all?" The silent question bubbled within me, but duty demanded obedience. I stepped back, retreating in the shadows of my assigned role. "What would you like for an aperitif?" "I'll go with the chef's recommendation."
水でお願い。
An empty table devoured my attention, swallowing my voice whole. Edward hastened to add,
あの客も。
"Certainly." The rules of the manor, always lurking. Brandon's eyes sparkled with sudden comprehension. His tongue clicked against the teeth, the sound sharp and unsettling. I, sensing the shift in the atmosphere, excused myself and slipped outside to deliver the orders to the kitchen. The sound of lively conversation continued to fill the room. The clink of crystal announced my arrival with the requested drinks. Edward engaged in a subdued conversation, briefly glanced my way, and the room's volume dipped further. An awkward realization settled upon me. Had I unwittingly interrupted a private exchange? A sigh escaped me as I hastily placed the beverages down, a growing sense of annoyance prickling at my nerves. Just as I prepared to depart, Brandon, his face etched with a disarming smile, made a request. "To ensure uninterrupted enjoyment of this exquisite meal, I would be happy if you could present all the courses simultaneously." I see. I shall let the kitchen know." "While we wait, Miss Clara, wouldn't you care to join me at the table? There seems to be an unoccupied seat." "Sorry?" A tremor of unease shook me. Was there a hidden motive lurking behind Brandon's casual suggestion? My surprised eyes turned to Brandon. Edward, in stark contrast, seemed to retreat behind a mask of disapproval.
おじさん、2人だけで食事するという条件だったじゃないですか。
Was it?
うん。
Don't look at me like that. You are embarrassing your uncle. Despite Edward's icy glare, Brandon smiled, held steady, his warmth seemingly directed at me alone. Red in the tray, I found myself shifting under the weight of their combined attention, my smile a grimace of awkwardness. Edwards paused briefly, a mere hint of surprise before it smoothed away. Then his gaze drifted sideways, avoiding mine. So you don't even want to look at me now? Fine, I have other plans. It's an honor to be able to talk to someone as wonderful as you, Mr. Brandon. I shall ensure your request reaches the kitchen. I'll be back shortly. My words stumbled out before I could catch them. The world blurred and somehow I found myself poised on a stool. Work clothes rumbled and awkward. My heart, instead of swelling with excitement, throbbed with raw discomfort. The realization of being invited, of exposing myself to Brandon's world, felt like a spotlight on my own vulnerability. I felt the prickle of Brandon's gaze on me. His voice, dripping with almost cloying sweetness, broke the stunning silence. I assume you have been to a dinner party before? I attended a few while I served Lady Jane. She had taught me the dining etiquette. She must have taken quite a liking to you. I just concluded that she deemed it wiser to keep me seated beside her than to let me loose in the boundless fields ready to wreak havoc. So, Miss Clara, how long have you been serving the manor? Oh, just over 4 months, sir. My, I figured you'd have been longer with how good you are at your job. Ha 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 ha. Thank you. Ha ha, don't feel the need to exert undue pressure upon yourself. How can I not feel pressured? The question echoed in my head as I watched Edward discreetly swipe at his mouth. His facade of calm fractured, his nervous gesture giving way to a tightly drawn expression, a mix of apprehension and resolve hardening his feature. I should have asked this earlier. Forgive me my curiosity, Miss Clara, but the air seems charged with a certain intrigue around you and Edward. Perhaps you could shed some light on the recent developments. What? What does he want to know from us? A recent exchange of contempt? I remained silent in embarrassment. With a smirk, like a sly cat who had stumbled upon a squeaking mouse, Brandon's eye flicked back and forth, savoring the awkward dance playing out between us. You see, Edward wrote me the most peculiar thing, asking me if I could take someone under my wing. Someone he's apparently vouching for with the utmost, shall we say, creative license? What? What?
酔いましたね、おじさん。
You don't have to feel so shy. The playful glint in Brandon's eyes met a wall of unyielding neutrality in Edward's gaze. Like a mischievous child testing boundaries, Brandon savored the challenge, his smile widening ever so slightly. Oh, is he planning to send me to Brandon's estate to work? I hope it's not. Please no. Edward, with the unflappable grace of seasoned diplomat, maintained the indifferent facade, the flick of his wrist as he resumed wiping his mouth with the only hint of acknowledgement. If not, I still have a chance. Miss Clara, why don't you work for me? Never mind. He was not a child. He was just a weird person. Brandon's sly laugh ripped through my strained smile, shattering my carefully constructed facade. Without a word, Edward's gaze met mine, then hardened like flint as he turned to Brandon, his voice laced with frustration.
本気で提案しますが、お酒を減らした方がいいですよ。
Haha, yes, but I didn't mean it in any other way. I think I would get sick if I had food right now. The echo of my thought hadn't even faded when Edward spoke, his voice dropping to menacing tone.
クララは誰にでも優しいので、そうするしかありません。
Really? I guess she's been pretty good to you.
そういえば、手紙でいい事業を見つけたと書いてありましたが、 いかがでしたか？
Oh, that. Brandon, like a chameleonic actor slipping out of a role, seamlessly morphed back into the picture of polished gentleman as the conversation steered to professionalism. Edward, his shoulders, previously hunched in tension, eased into a more relaxed posture, a ghost of smile playing on his lips. The air thick with tension moments ago thawed, melting into a semblance of their usual convivial dinner atmosphere. The clinking of ice against crystal replaced the gurgling symphony of water. Glasses were consistently offered to my hand, then another, then another. The chill of the first sip gave way to slow burn, a flush creeping up my neck and staining my fingertips a telltale red. I find myself the air thick with the heady scent of wine and laughter as Brandon's voice wove a captivating tapestry of words. My sister-in-law possessed a quiet progeny for painting, such a lamentable shame that she has chosen to set her brushes aside. I agree she had incredible talent. Did Edward show you the paintings? Brandon's gaze, once again alight with mischievous sparkle, started back to Edward. With a conspiratorial grin, he cupped his hand over his mouth, not quite muffling a playful psst that promised thrilling gossip on the other side. Did you know, Clara, that Edward shares his mother's artistic flair? It's quite a revelation, Mr. Brandon. Please
騙さ
continue.
れるなよ。教養としてやっと書いていた程度だよ。
But you didn't show me any of your creations. I'm quite sad. Haha, I see a bunch of blushing on your cheeks, Edward. Have the charms of Miss Clara subdued the lion of the ballroom?
お願いおじさん、変な噂を広めないでください。
The flush on Edward's face, a delicate watercolor in the candlelight, left me grappling with the tangle of emotions. The drunkenly imagined picture of him pirouetting in a ballroom spurred a giggle that choked on my lips. If being the epitome of bachelor made him a social butterfly, then why did envy twist in my gut like a wine-choked badger in the sea? As long as it isn't about him, I muttered, branching off of the ongoing conversation. The balls at the manor. I assume the late Lord Robert were present at the parties. The jovial melody of the evening abruptly hit a discordant note. Oh, wait. Well, yes, because of the location. Nonetheless, Robert was rather a gentleman of fertile fields and flamboyant displays. Forgive me curiosity, Mr. Brandon, but wouldn't Lord Robert's social life offer clues about his prominence? Huh? Prominence? Don't make me laugh. Oh shit. I sing awkwardly. I fumbled for my words to mend the frayed thread of our conversation. Well, I'll bring the deserts. My vision blurred, the ground rushing up to meet me. Then a hand lifeline in the darkness snatched me back from the brink. Oh wait, no, you fell down with did you, Clara? Edward's awkward but worried face looming above.
クララ、座っていて。僕が行ってくるよ。
He's doing such a terrible job that his love servant is trying to do it himself. Brandon slid by the merriment, proposed another round of drinks. Despite my desire to leave after a respectable amount of time, his persistent coaxing kept me tethered to the seat. They were escorted to the living room. I followed them. Brandon's insistent urging, propelled by the social momentum of the group, made escape feel like swimming against the tide. Entwined in the playful banter, I found myself swept along by the current of the evening. Glancing at the clock, a pang of impatience prickled. Early morning tasks and the unforgiving schedule of my job being enlarged by my employer unexpected. Are you paying attention, Edward? Edward, to your uncle.
はい。
Edward thought he was the host, but Brandon, liquored up and luscious, had hijacked the evening like a tipsy cruise director. Brandon embarked yet another voyage through the well-charted waters of the oft-repeated narrative plot. Consulting my mental chronometer, I recognized the hour of my impending departure, and a resolute determination occurred to the unfurling of nautical flag rose within me. Gentlemen, I'm leaving. My abrupt rise enticed a mirroring response from Edward, his limbs protesting as he sought purchase on the table. His slurred pleas seemed to suggest a shared desire for escape.
クララ、一人で大丈夫かい？
Yes, I would be, don't worry. His concern laced with the echo of his own unsteadiness felt oddly misplaced. Shouldn't you have stepped up till earlier? I perverted a way, seeking solace in Brandon. Brandon, steady gaze. A sharkish grin slid across Brandon's shrewd face as he gave Edward a pointed glare, a silent plea for him to stay. Worry, Edward. This house is safe than Dragon's Lair. Trust me, there's nothing to fear here.
そうだけど、
Mr. Brandon is right. You even proved it yourself, my lord. This humble servant holds a history of handling matters heroically. Besides, we have some privacy for manliness. In a flash, Brandon materialized before him, walking his arm around Edward's shoulder with the weight of unspoken expectation. Edward, surprised by the sudden swift of tactics, flinched slightly, a mix of betrayal and confusion darting across his face.
クララ、
Wishing you both a productive and a prolonged evening, gentlemen. My feet beat a steady rhythm against the corridor, each step carrying me further away from the lingering rose. A whimper laced with despair drifted after me, but my resolve, hardened by necessity, remained perfectly unshaken. I think we have taken a lot of time today. I think it's enough for today. Goodbye, folks. Let's continue later. Alright, guys, enough for today. Or enough for this live stream at least. Let's join back into another session where we'll continue from where we left today.